Welcome everybody back to another film club, and we've got our first action sci-fi movie. I'm guessing that's how we're going to put it. I don't where this would fit, if it's slightly monster horror sci-fi genre, low budget from 2000, pitch black, Vin Diesel as Riddick, what is a trilogy at the moment, but there is going to be a number 4.
Yeah, we saw that on the list in development last week.
Yeah, so there is Riddick, what's it called? Furia. What is his race? Because it's his race. That is it. So things. Hello, Stasis. Hello, Stasis Echo. Oh, have I sound echoey? Do I sound echo?
I don't hear it.
No, it's not us.
I don't hear it.
There we go. But hey, AWOL, hey, Daryl, and everybody else who would join in very, very soon. But yeah, so I think this is our first time, isn't it, where only one of us has seen it. I think this is the first movie.
Not the first. It's one of the very few.
Yeah, except for this short.
Oh yes, Dinner for One.
Dinner for One. That's it. But yeah, so you guys recently, you didn't even hear about this one, did you? It's not like, I didn't really care about it. So off the bat, kind of before we get into real spoilers, what did you vaguely think as it was your first time? So not what you thought?
Right. So for me, just kind of like a small sample of my overall kind of take on it. It was very late 90s, early 2000s, which I personally enjoyed because for me, that's a bit of a nostalgia point. That's like my childhood era of like really starting to see some different kinds of movies, versus growing up off your Disney animateds and all that kind of stuff as a little kid. So like late 90s, early 2000s, I'm starting to get a little bit older. I'm starting to watch movies not quite like this, but in that kind of realm. Like I remember watching Triple X with Vin Diesel around this time as a kid and thinking it was the coolest, most badass thing you've ever seen. And then you come back and you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, these lines are a little cheesy and things like that. But it was a fun little, like nostalgia ride to a degree. We'll get into the details kind of, you can see some budget issues and effects and things that don't quite hold up. But it was a fun watch. It was a nice kind of trip down memory lane in the sense of going back in time to a different era of movie versus a movie that I had actually seen before.
Sandy.
I'm probably right in the same place. It was an okay watch. I was probably overly critical of the effects and particularly the sound. And now I was listening with headphones on, and it was hard to hear some of the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the points where certain we won't get into it. Certain creatures are doing their thing. It was just really hard to hear. So effects, sound, visual was a little clunky. And yes, I think that was a budget issue. My main, I guess, challenge with watching this was I was a little lost in what the actual story is because I felt like there was backstory I was missing, and my brain kept going to, oh, what was I missing? And we'll talk about it as we get into it. But so it was a little bit hard to follow. But then I think 3/4 of the way through, I realized, oh, there really isn't another story I'm supposed to be here. But I let my brain go. It was fine. It was a fine watch.
Yeah. It's yeah, this one, like, I always admit, like, it's got a cult following. This is a one. This is like, I think this was
Apparently Viper does. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
it has to with the sequels, not only at
Yeah.
the time, because I think a couple years later they got a sequel and they're doing one
Yeah.
now or whatever it is, however many there's been. So it's
Yeah,
got to
there's
have some
Chronic-
strong following.
there's this Chronicles of Riddick, what has a good cast in it. Cole Uber's in it, and then they did Riddick, and now he's got the full Chronicle. So yeah, and like this is 25 years ago. This one, so it's still got legs for 25 years, and you think, like, I'm sure this has got to be an Australian, New Zealand budgeted movie because just the actors in it.
Yeah,
because
Australia.
yeah, and Claudia Black, who was from Farscape. It has that kind of Farscape feeling to it, and they call her Shazza. So, like, literally, only like if you're from that part of the world, you're going to call somebody Shazza, I'm guessing. But yeah, I remember I like this. Just like I remember going to the cinema and seeing this, so I was so surprised that you were. I've never heard of it. And I think, Jay, you heard of Chronicles of Riddick, didn't you?
Yeah, so Chronicles of Riddick I had heard of, and I remember them doing I guess it was the third one in the series at the time, because I remember it was just titled Riddick, right? I could have sworn there was one like maybe early 2010s, like between 10 and 15 at some point. I remember there being like some promotion for Riddick, that movie. So like I knew of the two sequels more than I did this one. I had always assumed Chronicles of Riddick was the very first one. I had never heard Pitch Black in my life.
I suppose because all the other ones got Riddick in the name.
Yeah, that definitely makes it pop a little more. But
Yeah.
just even in terms of like, you ever see that Vin Diesel? Like, because at this time, Vin Diesel was pretty big in terms of stardom. So there was those movies like A Man Apart, even The Pacifier. I think we talked about last week, like the little family one that he had done. Like, so his movies kind of stood out just because he was a star. I just don't really remember anybody saying, you know, had you seen Pitch Black with Vin Diesel? So
maybe just
Riddick
like the
was first
marketing
one
and
for me.
I don't know who, like the production company just didn't have the promotional legs in America. Maybe
I don't know.
It must have been
What I didn't do was to see what else was released around it
in 2000.
Yeah, because I don't
if it wasn't
remember
released
either.
hard, if it wasn't hard release in the States, the things, but like you got he's got Vin Diesel's household name now, but 2000 he had some good like coming up.
It could have been just before it. You might be right.
Yeah,
there,
just
I
before,
think
after.
Fast and Furious was like 2001-ish, and then Triple X is 2003. Man Apart's like 04-05. So like it kept kind of coming after that. So
yeah, so
maybe this was just before. You know,
because what did he do? Is it
Saving Private Ryan as well?
Saving Private Ryan, he's in, isn't he?
Era.
Yeah, so that was what year was that? Saving Private Ryan then?
Early 2000s again, but
Again,
probably after Fast and Furious.
And he's
I'll take a guess.
And he's one. If you don't go back and tell somebody he's in it,
you'd miss
you miss him. He's not very much a main character, and it gets taken out quite early. But yeah, this must have been kind of a launch pad, kind of for his career in action. He doesn't really, like I said, we mentioned the only movie we think of, The Pacifier. That wasn't a very action. He's doing what,
and it still was to a degree, because I think he was like a retired spy or something that becomes a babysitter for a family or something ridiculous. So there was some level of action in it, but
this one has been, and he's doing what he knows best. He's an action star, isn't he? He's not going to do anything like even this with like the dry acting and lines. Like you would have to, like, even with this one, like I like with the movie, the acting isn't the greatest in across it, but they don't need to be, because the story plot is a bit out there halfway through, you know.
Yeah, it's not that type of movie that's really even like asking of that performance from their actors. You know, it's more focused on the, you know, the visual, the story. What can we kind of do with this sci-fi kind of, you know, concept? And I think to a degree they use Vin Diesel similarly. I always kind of look at it to it's similar to how they use Dave Bautista in things like Guardians of the Galaxy or Blade Runner 2077, whatever it was. Using as his physical. Is he? Oh, no kidding.
I'm sure he's in Riddick. So somebody look out. I'm sure he is.
It's similar. You keep him focused on, you know, physical appearance in terms of, you know, the big muscles, all that. Give him some action parts. Give him a few, you know, what they may have perceived to have been badass one-liners that may not be so badass 25 years later. but you give him those one-liners that, look little bits of dialogue, look menacing, look intimidating, and that's kind of it. That's all the performance you're really asking out of this guy, and he's the one meant to carry a movie.
Well, this is where, he's on this one. It's I said he's an anti-hero, and I still stand that he is. Riddick is not a nice guy, and it's like you get that kind of straight away, because like the actual opening of it, like the graphics is 2000 like it is very low budget.
So bad.
Yeah, it's rough. You get little like seconds of it not looking too bad, and then it's just immediately back into like, oh yeah, it looks a little rough.
I think this part turned me off immediately because it was like
because
really
you're like, no,
bad model. This was a badly lit model, obviously, and just that was like.
But you think about, they're still using green screen, aren't they? Because you think even 1999 is the release of Phantom Menace, 97, they're still using it. So digital technology didn't really come out
not
probably
quite there
this
yet,
year.
right.
So they did it, and this is like, that's what I'm saying, like it felt like that Farscape budget, because it feels like that kind of you're getting that Star Trek.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Stasis.
Yeah.
It does feel like a little bit of a glorified sci-fi TV budget. Like maybe just slightly more than a sci-fi TV show would have had, but in that same kind of bracket. Like you didn't quite hit the big budget.
Yeah. But I think that's where they get later on, and we're going to, is why it's set in the dark.
That's a brilliant idea for sure.
But they do that now, don't they? To hide special effects.
Yeah. They'll do many tricks. I mean, you look at even Godzilla, Godzilla -1. One of my favorite things about it, and I pointed this out in my review that I did for it, was how as good as the CGI and everything looks in that movie for the small budget they had, which I think was something like 20 million, Godzilla looks fantastic in it. But instead of having him fight in Tokyo, they have him fight out in the ocean, because it's way easier to, cover a lot of his body that way. It minimizes how much you have to show in terms of physical movement, destruction of the city, right? And all the destruction of what would be the city if he was over there, but it also works with the legend of Godzilla, because he comes from water, in the water and all that. So yeah, it's a trick. Clever tricks like that is still used to this day. And if you do it right, you can have a $20 million budget that has CGI that looks better than a $300 million budget movie.
Like the fog machine in Monty Python.
Yeah, there you go.
Holy Grail, the fog machine.
They're tricks as old as time when it comes to film, but they still work to this day.
Well, that's it. Like, even it is like, I managed to get a good screenshot of like when this is just literally how you can get with, because what it is, let's quickly go through it, is the ship is on I can't remember, it's a back end kind of transport ship. And it's cheap, and they take the back lanes because it's cheaper through space. I don't get how that's cheaper. The long way around, but they're heading towards a rogue asteroid, and it's like the shards strike. But when we get that, you get, of course, this like Riddick. He is talking about whilst you're in cryo sleep, they say if you're like something like the animal side will be awake, and that's why I'm fully awake.
The primitive side of your brain.
It's like that. And so like, and then you kind of just get like, whilst they're in their cryo sleep, is just the kind of shots of the people that we're going to care about, the people who are going to survive the crash, because they do say in this there's 40 people within the thing, so we know straight away after he talks, he's in a no early release, he's in the thing, in a prison, like, within a
cryo brig.
Cryo prison.
Cryo if they're just like asleep. It's like that though.
Yeah. And it's this bit is quite good. They did it quite clever, I thought, is with the, if you take out when they go into space, is literally let's have the camera shaking, because that you're in space and you're coming into orbit. So they just literally everything is shaking. So it was quite hard to get some good shot. But of course, we have Fry, she is the docking pilot. We have the navigational pilot, and of course we have the captain, who we find out straight away he gets done in with the shards of the asteroids going through the ship, and he flatlines. And the first people to awake, because I'm guessing it's emergency protocol, is Fry, and I can't remember what his name is. The navigation. Owen, is it? Owen. Yeah. So they run to the cockpit, and it's all going a bit wrong. And of course, they're coming into orbit into the flight with a nice little bit of out of control. They got a whole breach, and it's cool. I like this bit because it is quite. It's even though the effects when they go out or when they're shown through the thing is a bit ropey, and we all things like that. But I like it how it's simple. Is like just pull a handle and she's taking out all, like, I'm guessing the first 4 or whatever she takes out are
like
kind of just
stages of
storage.
the ship are being
and she
jettisoned.
just dump trying to get the kind of level out the ship. And of course, whilst Owen is in, he's gone like into a different area because his navigation is trying to tell her what to do, and it's just everything. It's just God. It's just literally, what are you going to do? And it's quite fast paced. I think this bit is, you don't, like watching it. I'm guessing for first. Oh, it's what it is. It is. We're there. It's over dramatic. It's something's happening. It's a bit of things, and they come into, of course, the into the planet's I suppose atmosphere. And of course, the ship just starts ripping apart like that. And then, until like well, at one point, I'm sorry, I missed it, when he stops her, doesn't he? On this bit, sorry, is like, don't touch the handle. You got 70 seconds because she's going to purge, isn't it? It's called a purge. Purge the
people,
the cryo people, isn't it? The people in the cryo sleep. Well, they're starting to wake up slowly as well. And then he kind of stops it, things, but she kind of gets the I suppose the craft into a position where it's going to crash land. It's going to crash land. And I like this because I like the ship isn't supposed, like how it's shaped is a spacecraft. It's not there to be a enter the atmosphere. How it's shaped, that's not going to be airworthy. It's like that, and I like that. I kind of like that they've just kind of plummeted, and then even with like the glass smashes through like that, everything comes out, and like half the where's left of the back end of the craft just completely goes. And it's I think it's quite good, and like, of course, when they land and everything's ripped up. They're trying to, whoever survived the limited amount are trying to find the other survivors. And I think it's good. You get a couple of them trying to do, repairs, whatever they can, get people out by welding torches and all that. But of course, you've got Johns here. What did everybody know what else he's from? And he looks really weird without a beard.
No.
I know he's been in a bunch. His name's Josh Lucas, right? Something like that. Yeah. I've seen him in a bunch of random things. I just can't
He's in Yellowstone?
No, I've never watched it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that
he's been in a lot of, I feel like rom-coms from the early 2000s and stuff like that. It's one of those guys that, like, I feel like I remember seeing him in a bunch of stuff, but never memorable enough to know what the hell it was I saw him in, type of guy.
Yeah, he's the hard man in Yellowstone, but he got a beard and looks completely different. It's like everybody's saying that now.
He's not a bad actor. I just feel like he's never, like, his character's never memorable. He's never really been much of a lead.
No,
and in this one, his acting's not great, I will say. But generally speaking, he's not too bad. Like, as an actor, he just never really,
he's quite bad in this. I thought he's the worst actor.
He's pretty bad in it.
Yeah. So he goes and tries to find, and of course Riddick. Oh, why is that not coming up? Oh, hello. Sorry. What's that? So I got something's glitched in the matrix, but I don't know what's going on. Sorry, no picture's not coming up. The cryo cell, I suppose. Oh, there you go. It's a good time. Is empty. So yeah, it's now trying to find Riddick. Whilst now we get also in the crash, we get Owen has been completely empowered.
Oh my word! I know.
It's like, it's the only thing he really says is, "Don't touch that handle."
Don't touch that handle.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "There's nothing you can do." It's too, like, I think Claudia Black's character,
yeah.
Shazza. It's like it's too close to his heart. You can't pull it out, and it's just like you look at him. Yep, he's dead, like that. And so that's
So for those of
it.
my friends who may find me in this state at some point in my life, just clunk me on the head. Okay, just do it. Just
My
clunk me
God,
on the
yeah.
head. Just do
Yeah.
it. You have my permission right now. Because if I saw that thing, I would hope that would cause the emergency heart attack, and I would just be dead
My
anyway. But
God.
if you find me in this state, just give me a good clunk. All right. So Abe Viper, you heard me say that.
Oh, yeah. You're a goner, and I like how she pulls him over, and she's like, "Oh no!" Like so now, he dies, of course, and then we get John's has a little bit a back and forth, of course, with our Riddick here, who's still got he's banned on, so he can't see. We don't know why yet, but we will get that later. And he ties him up, and so he's left on the ship whilst they're all now having a look outside. John's kind of explains, don't he, that he's come from a maximum prison. At this point, you believe John's kind of like a, what do you call it in America?
A marshal.
A marshal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like that. You don't realize he hasn't really came across as he's a mercenary at a real things. But yeah, and this he's kind of coming across as a how he's dressed, how he acts is he's bringing him back.
He's got a badge. You think
Yeah.
he's the you think he's the law.
He's the space law.
Now, for anyone else like me who has chronic shoulder pain,
I thought about this, Sandy.
Oh,
Well, later.
I wasn't even thinking about because I do have like a little pain in my right shoulder all the time, and like it comes and goes. The weather makes it, that kind of thing. Just more old people talk. I know that we always
Here
do
we
that.
go, old people talking. Ding ding.
But whenever I saw him in this position, I'm like, I hope to God for his own sake this was like a one take shot, because that position there looks awful on your shoulders.
But then you see him dislocate himself.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, gross.
And
I wonder how they did that. I always think like because he does it twice. He does one when he does his elbow as well. He's like his elbow. So yeah, it's
but just seeing him like this, I was like, oh, that I know old people talk. Old people talk.
Oh my God. That
was a good one, Abe.
No, I'll give
was
you
a
that.
good one, Abe.
I'll give you that.
Well played.
Good. Most sensible thing he said, and this is like Film Club 36. So.
It is. We're still waiting for Highlander to say something sensible.
Yeah. Never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen.
Episode 50. Yeah, so they come out, and then we find out they're on literally the hottest desert lit planet ever. There's it's burning down. It looks like we've only got like 6 survivors on that. We have the was it guy going to Mecca, played by Keith Davis, and he's 3, I suppose, followers. They're going to pilgrims. Going to New Mecca. We have a young boy called Jack, a antiques dealer, and then 2 prospectors, they call it. That's it. And then of course Johns, Riddick, and Fry. That's all that is left at the moment. Dum dum dum. But
I did like the antique dealer guy. I have a soft spot in my heart for those kind of characters. I did like that character.
Yeah. So yeah, they look. They kind of praise Frey here for like literally being able to land the ship because they've looked at the debris that they've left.
Yeah,
that's it. But of course, at this point, you get kind of just before like that is Riddick, of course, with the. I don't even know how you do it. I'm trying to like reenact like shoulders over the top.
Don't try, please. Dislocating his shoulders. Yeah.
He's gone. Of course, Johns is like, oh shit. Like that. So they kind of come up with a plan. I like this because this is like the antiques dealer gets out a couple of like ancient, like this is the blow dart, a couple of like head spears, nothing that's probably going to be great against as we now know, Riddick is a murderer. He's a scoundrel. He's been in maximum prisons. He'll kill you in your sleep, and he's happy to do it. He's a bit of a psychopath. Let's just say that he's John's comes across psychopath. So they kind of screwed, and of course they're like, well, we will have to wait, to get water from the dark, and then they find out they're on a planet with
there is no dark.
There's no dark. There is a blue sun, I suppose, and it's a sun of 3. So they got another 2. So you get gold. No, I like the styling of this. The director choosing this, that you have, depending where they are, you have a really blue light because they're looking at the blue sun. They're on that side, or it's like a golden. At the moment, it's like very, it's all golden. I like that, getting them 2 tints on the screen.
So I liked the concept of it, but I felt like the way they did it was just the colors were a little too saturated. It was honestly an issue with me throughout, especially the beginning of the movie, but kind of throughout it too was just some of the more visual screen effects, like not even your CGI, just like your filters, these weird kind of camera tricks they were doing with some zoom ins and zoom outs, and there was also weird little thing they did in a few spots where it looked like the picture stretched like at the sides and then would kind of come back in. It was very odd. It was just a little distracting, and I felt like it made it visually a little hard to look at times. Like the strobe light in the beginning of the movie too, when the crash was happening, I was watching it coincidentally in the pitch black of my living room because I had all the lights out. It was late at night, and that strobe was like killing me. So it was like I appreciated what they were going for, trying to use more simple, cheaper camera effects to kind of help out the budget on a sci-fi movie. It just felt like they overdid it a little bit with some of those, with like the saturation of some of the color and the strobes and things like that.
There is a reason as well. This is where like the director, because of the budget, and this is the things, but what he wanted to do, there's a bit, I kind of skip, like they come out and like they give Jack a breathing apparatus, don't they? Like, so if you look, when they're in the ship, it's HD, I suppose you want to call it, really clarity, like the lighting's good. And he wanted it so when you're watching it, you have 2 different effects, and you're supposed to be a bit taken back by it's supposed to be warped because they're not breathing correctly, so they didn't want you to see correctly. Now, if that's true, or it was just a trick for the low budget as well, and because they couldn't, we can't give full focus on a planet scene. You don't know, but
I can buy that though.
I could buy that. That's why I say, like, I appreciate what they were going for. It just felt like, and again, maybe it's a little bit dated too. Maybe at the time I could have liked it a little bit more in terms of the enjoyment factor, but it did just make it a little bit hard to look at, some of these scenes at times. But it also didn't last entireties of scenes. It was kind of like almost in transition points or just little bursts of it that were like, oh, okay. But then when they were just moving around in the blue light world, it wasn't, or the blue light portion of that world. It wasn't that bad. So it was just, there was just some visual effect. Like that. Like at here, it's like, oh, not too bad. But the transition from a red to a blue would just be a little bit hard on the eyes type of thing.
I agree. But I like what Abe said. It's weird how the film looks cheap and expensive all at once.
Yeah.
It actually does. And so when those effects were bothering my eyes too, Jay, I had to tell myself, well, okay, this is another planet. This is this is a choice. But the fact that I had to keep telling myself that was getting annoying too. Right.
I agree there.
When we go into the full darkness, some of those effects were even more jarring at one point. When you're seeing through Riddick's eyes, that was a little jarring too. So I don't know what they could have done to kind of ease those transitions, but it forced me to focus more on my eyes and how I was experiencing it than the story. Like it was
it becomes distracting. Yeah, 100%. I agree there.
Yeah. So now on the things, Riddick's gone, so they've kind of searching for him, and of course they can't find him, but they found some trees in the distance. There's some trees, so they're off to go and have a look, because where's trees, there's water, of course. Whilst we got is Sandy's favorite, and I can't remember his name.
I can't either, but he was a good character. I did like. He added the right kind of comedic relief / a bit of sassiness to him. It was he was good.
Hang on, I'm gonna find him.
Yeah,
I can't believe I forgot his name already.
So everybody, I can't remember one of the prospectors is off taking. He started digging a hole to bury the dead. and then he's just up there as look out for if Riddick comes back, and he's got his bottles of whiskey and other wines or whatever. That's the only thing they've got to drink now. And he's sit there with a cigar and like that. And of course, he's just oblivious to it all. And of course, then Jack kind of takes him out and he goes, look, this is what he can do. Even then, where he replies to, what happened to you? Did you run away? Did your parents run away from you? I just
That
thought
was a
it was
good
like,
line.
yeah, I was like, yeah.
His name is Paris Ogilvy. It's a
Was
good
that
name.
his? Was
I don't
was
even
that
remember
his
them
character?
saying
Yeah,
that.
don't remember. I don't remember the same Paris
his
at all.
character is Paris Ogilvy, and
That is good.
but I remember the other one's name, the person who was burying the bodies. I remember Zeke. That
Zeke.
one was easy to remember. That was Zeke.
So yeah, so they get to the through the canyons to a, as they say, it is like a graveyard of elephants of Earth that once was. So we know that probably Earth is no longer, so that we're set right in the future. Like you're going to get that a lot of movies go that way, don't they? So they go into the, I suppose the I don't know, Valley of the Dead, I'm going to call it. Whatever. Yeah. And of course, Riddick is hiding in there. And I like this next scene. I think this next scene is good because it shows like when Fry, her canister or whatever, started not going, so she takes kind of a break. And I like this scene because it shows he's a bit weird. Riddick is a bit weird because he goes to kind of as John comes up, goes to kind of go and stab her, and then as she's her and John's are kind of like having a conversation, and she explains that she's not the captain, and she was going to literally purge them all when it was only Owens that stopped her, and then he kind of backs off with the knife that he's kind of fashioned from some bones, and then just cuts her hair. And yeah, so I kind of like that scene.
Smells it.
Yeah, it's very random, very strange.
Yeah, I just thought it was a
and
good.
you think it's
yeah.
going to lead to something, but it doesn't. It's
No,
just
just
kind of
like-
that's just it. It's just what he chooses to do.
You're a bit weird, mate. Yeah, it's okay. That's it. But I like that because you kind of like you're not at this point. You're not supposed to like him. He's supposed to be, he's not really said much. Yeah, so we get that, and of course,
it definitely helps throw you off about him a little more because you obviously have the idea at this point that he's not a good guy or whatever. But then, and again, I joke that like it was very random and weird, but like it is in the sense that like you also like, well, why did he like? It just gives you more curiosity about his character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no real payoff for it later on, but it does make you realize at that point, like, okay, this guy's not just regular bad guy. Like there's something just a little bit more off in him than just he's the villain,
So yeah, so the kids are, as you would in a foreign land. I always think this is good. They take the kids first, just in case. We don't know any danger. Send the kids first.
I wasn't sure. Were they purposely sending the kids first here, or were the kids just kind of being kids and wandering?
I just think they're just being they're wandering. And I think
that's what I was assuming. Because I'm like, I can't imagine they would really send the kids out exploring first.
No, I just think they're just taking the lead. They're not that far behind, but it's just a thing. But yeah, they find a toy robot. So there must be somebody, and then they come across quickly out of the way, I suppose you call it like a research center.
It's a mining
outpost.
outpost.
I think, right. They were calling it a settlement, I think, but it was very much like a research outpost. It reminded me of the game Helldivers, same kind of thing you would find walking around those planets there.
Never played it.
Yeah, same concept essentially. Battles. What's the one there? The alien one with the bugs. I was going to say Battlestar Galactica for a second. Starship.
No, not Battlestar
Galactica. It's Starship Troopers. Yeah, how I just got those mixed up.
I was gonna watch that last night. I was like, it was out of 2 movies. It was really weird. Draft day of that, and I just went draft day. I don't know why.
I watched Starship not that long ago. It was probably around this time last year when Helldivers was a big game.
Yeah. Yeah, don't watch the others. They're terrible.
But
yeah,
do
so we
watch Battlestar Galactica, all versions of Battlestar Galactica.
yeah, so they kind of walk around, and then of course Fry goes into a room that has a planetarial system that is on what do you call it? Like a spindle thing, a clock spindle.
Oh,
So
there's a word
there
for it.
is
Why
a
can't I
word
think
for
of
it, an
Yeah.
it's called an orrery. and I
Go
only
on.
know it because when
Orrery.
I looked up, I was looking up like where this was filmed or something.
Mhm.
And I started reading about the film and some of the set design, and I saw it's ORRORY, orrery, and it's
Never
meant
heard of it.
to help predict the positions of planets.
Ah, I'm guessing it's something the Greeks invented or something or whatever. It was like
I've seen it used. Yeah, I've seen it
Mm.
used in movies before when it's like something almost archaeological based, where like, oh, we found this thing. This is how they told when the next solstice was going to be. So I've seen it used in a lot of different mediums before in those kind of ways. I just couldn't remember the name of it.
So yeah,
Who would remember
Right.
that?
Yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Don't blame yourself, Jack.
Damn you, Jay. Yeah, so yeah, on this, yeah, it's like I say, this first portion is just it's all just the setup. It's just putting
Mhm.
the chess places in like you where they're coming from or where they've got to go. Because yeah, lucky enough, Fry shouts out, you know, how Mecca or whatever she says, and like because he found a little skiff, I think they call it.
Yep.
A little jump ship. It's the emergency get out of Dodge, I suppose. Thing. So yeah, they find that it's not powered though. So that's one of the problems that we get to. But whilst that is happening, we'll go back to Paris out of things, and he hears a noise. So he goes, now this is quite a good shot, because if you look at the blue there on that ship, and then you look at the clarity on this shot, that's the in bit. It's a very different styling. It's very much, you know, like it's sharp. So of course, Jack and Shazza is, I'm gonna have to get it like that, sorry, is doing repairs, and of course they hear it. They go, it's Riddick. She gets I don't know what the weapon is, but yeah, about to hit, and then Jack goes, no, and it's one of the other survivors.
It was another survivor.
It's another survivor. And then quickly, as he says, I didn't think anybody else was alive. Bang. Literally, you hear her blowing. She gets covered very quickly in blood. And yeah, what was his name again?
Zeke. But you know,
Zeke.
that's really real, right? You know, if you're in a situation like that, those little accidents are gonna happen, you know, and
especially a bunch of just untrained people in terms of survival who are just, you know, they're petrified. Not only do they have to survive on an alien planet, they have what they believe to be a very dangerous, you know, criminal hunting them.
Psychopath.
Essentially. So
who is just chilling.
Yeah, I did like
I like that.
I did like this.
It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna watch you guys.
And this was one of those little weird camera zoom ins where it didn't look great, but I appreciate what they were doing, because it did add for a little bit of a comedic, like, yeah, and back here, this is what's going on. So yeah, again, it didn't look great, but I appreciate what they were doing.
Taking his swig of his drink, you know, I'm just gonna watch you fuck it all up in the greatest language there. But yeah, it is. He's just literally he's just there watching them to kind of destroy themselves. He hasn't got to do much. So we go back, of course. Then Fry tells everybody who's in that area is there's no power, but she can use the power cells and adapt them from the other ship into this one, so we're fine. We just now need to get them here. What comes on? So what happens from that? This is like a bit skippy, is because it's just telling us what the plan is. Of course, unfortunately, it's going to go a bit Pete Tong, but we get Zeke. He's been digging his hole, and there's a hole within his hole that goes right underground. So he goes to have a look, and then the screams. He gets pulled in, taken straight in. There's blood. Shazza runs over. What is going on? Sees the blood, and she looks up, and Riddick is just there again. He's just standing there. He's just literally looking. So he goes, "Oh, I've been caught. I'm running off." and Johns takes him down. And I like this bit because then Johns is the first time you see what Riddick sees or what he's, and I put it in the one of the poll questions is why he's wearing the goggles and why he's protecting his eyes is because this is what he sees in daylight. We'll find out later exactly what but there is his eyes aren't correct, like that. So there's something wrong. They bring him back, tie him back up. Quickly, Fry comes back. We can't find the body. Where did you put the body?
They all assume he did it. They all assume that Riddick killed Zeke.
Because they're on a planet that everything is dead. They've seen it because the elephants, I suppose you want to call it, alien elephants are dead. So he quickly explains, I'm, come closer. Was it come closer? What can you see? Go and see she goes to see his eyes. What's wrong with you? He's telling them, I'm not the worst thing on this planet. There's something else or something, like very vague, but he doesn't know what it is, but he's kind of seen like the Zeke body get dragged through into the underground. So he also says, you didn't look deep enough. You need to go deeper. So they're explaining again about the eyes, whilst then Jack is, ooh, they're cool. Like that. How do I get eyes like that? And then
come on, who doesn't know that this is a girl from the get-go? I mean, from the get-go.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not see it coming at first. I
Oh,
not
really?
at first, the whole way through. I actually did not
it.
realize it was a girl. I don't know if the character. I found the character to be a little bit annoying. So I don't know if the annoying kind of like gave me a smoke screen a little bit because I just got annoyed anytime they were on the screen.
Maybe,
yeah. So I will say when this switch happens, it caught me off by surprise later on. I did not realize it was.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, well, spoiler alert. Sorry guys. Everybody here did their homework. But I will say I got tricked by that one.
Well, let me ask you, speaking of spoilers, or at least what did you think at this point? Did you think, or do you think Riddick understood what those creatures were, or he's just putting two and two together now, or did he know what these things were?
I think to some degree, almost a little bit of both. Because I feel like he's a well-traveled kind of person in whatever he is, a well-versed in a lot of kind of the worlds around him, the universe around him, because obviously this is space. Who knows what planet he's from, where it is in relation to this exact planet with these creatures. But he definitely has those natural survival skills that I think kind of help him piece some things together about what's on the planet. But I think he's aware of the species once he figures it out, if that makes sense. Like, I think he's picking up on like, oh, this could mean that this specific thing is what's on this planet. And then eventually finds out, correct, it was that specific type of alien, whatever it is.
Yeah, I felt like he kind of knew. And
right.
I agree with you. The combination of his natural skills and instinct with some kind of specific knowledge of these things, right? Because, for us, we have to, I don't think we would have put two and two together without it being explained and the dark and light and all that kind of stuff.
It would almost be like a hunter here who's like got all those skills and would be able to say, oh no, these tracks could mean that this is a small bear or maybe a large whatever. You know what I mean? Like that kind of knowledge of, I don't know exactly what it is, but I have enough to kind of gather the context clues to say it could be this, it could be that. And then, as more reveal itself, you realize, oh no, this is a black bear in these woods type of thing. So I kind of liken it to something like that.
But he's happy to put, I'm going to use you as bait. Let's say that to find out more information. That's the problem with him. He's like, if somebody dies and I get more information, I'm going to take it.
Right.
Yeah. So be it. Yeah. So he kind of tells like Jack here, that how do you, which he asks at this point, how do you get eyes like that? And he goes, you got to murder some people. You got to go into the maximum
the
prison.
Slam,
the
is
slammer,
that what they called it? The Slam
slammer
or something. Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
And then you've got to be told that you're not going to see light ever again, and then find a corrupt like surgeon that will give you the shine so you can see people in the dark, you know, and things like that. So that gets kind of, now we know why his eyes are like how they are. Of course, then one of the things, he has to find a doctor. There you go. That's it. Find a doctor who's going to be like that. And he said, I think he says also like how much you're going to pay him or whatever. You got to give something like that. But it's just like, it's just a, you know, it's to show that he's got an ability that nobody else has got. It's a little bit of a setup. But then, of course, we get Fry. And like, would you do this? Hell no. It's like them horror games I've been playing. When I know,
you're not going in there.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to go that way. Somebody else do it, and it makes you do it. It makes you do it, and you're like, no, I don't want to do it. So yeah, it's silly, and she goes down into the depths, and like, yeah, it's all kind of eerie. It's spooky. She's on a what, a tether? Really, like a
yeah, basically,
yeah, kind of, yeah, like to make sure she, like, they can fish her out. And while she's down there, she sees the kind of the remains of Zeke. It's just his foot. It's just his foot. Whilst that, there's something moving. What we can see is terrible, like that. But it gets, this is when you can see it really in the dark. There's something moving on the wall, and I don't mind this because it reminds, you know, like of probably not so much of Alien, but more of Aliens when they go into the thing and you just see the movements on the wall. I think they probably got, you know, nicked that idea of like, we're not going to really show you what it is. We're just going to show you a little bit of movement. And again, it's probably because of budgeting. Make it as dark as you can see it, because we're not going practical and we wanted to go cheap. You know,
I honestly think that was not only just part of what they decided to do with the effects side of things. I think that went into the writing of the movie. I think that's why it is pitch black. I think that's why they wanted these aliens to, you know, function or live in the darkness versus the light. Which I can actually appreciate that. I think that's clever. If you know you want to come in and make a sci-fi movie, but you're very limited budgeted wise, I think that's really clever to kind of work darkness not only into the visuals of the movie, but into the fabric of what these creatures are, what this planet is. It's smart.
And give the only person that can, you know, make him a convent and make him, he lives in the dark now.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just like building the idea around darkness as a concept because you need it. You know, you need to rely on it so much visually because of the budget. You know, hats off to them. That was very clever.
Yeah. So while she's down there, everybody else is up top, and she gets.
But they're up top from a different hole.
Yeah.
Right. So she's now like threading herself to come back up from a different place.
Yeah.
Because it took me a minute to figure that out. Why is she getting pulled from behind and not from the top? But it's because she's coming out in a different place. That took me a minute to figure that out.
Yeah. And then she's now shouting. I think this is probably the best acting in the movie. Is like her actually terrified of being pulled down because she knows that's what's happened to Zeke, and it's like that. So yeah, she gets finally they hear her from what's it, Abdul? I think it's Abdul, isn't it? Hears that he kind of, what's that murmuring?
Yeah, I think he
realizes where he's getting the thing. So they pull her out, and I don't mind it. It's like when she's like heavily believing, she goes, "Oh my god!" and then she just boom, back she goes, and like, get it off me. And that bit of acting was terrible, I thought.
That was, and hello, you know, you've pulled her out. The first thing you would do is disconnect the thing that was pulling her in a different direction.
I'm still not entirely sure why she didn't unhook it herself while she was in the hole. That was kind of my thing. I'm like, or like you would have thought you at least would have gone down there with a sizable knife to be able to cut it, or like just for your own safety. Never mind like the use of being able to cut that cord if you had to. God forbid the clip was too difficult. So yeah, I was like, it's a little.
None of us is going down there. Who's going down
that
there?
too? Nobody in their right mind is going down there in the
doing
first place.
So I don't even have to think.
I'm taking Riddick's word that he didn't do it, and that's it.
I'm sending the kids. Like, there's got to be a treat in there. Go on.
They're scrappy. They can.
You're small enough to go in. That's
well, the kids in this movie don't see much of a better fate. At least most of them, anyways. So you could have just sent them down there.
So after what Frey explains what's happened, they realize it wasn't Riddick. So Johns comes up with the kind of, I'm guessing the agreement is we're going to let him free. You know, he can, if it's better to have him on our side than kind of
Right.
having to look over your shoulder. But there's also something else here that we've now got to deal with, and what is the worst of the scenario. So they decide to let
I
Riddick go.
didn't buy this. This
Didn't
part of the they build him up to be such, such a horrible convict, and then we're just gonna let you go if you help us get out. I really didn't like this. It took me a minute, and I know what's gonna happen to the not Jack, to John's character, but and what we think he is versus what he is, but this just didn't make sense. I just didn't buy this part of the plot. I just didn't.
So I liked it again. I liked it in concept because it reminded me almost of like Con Air, for example. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Con Air, but where the plane goes down, all the convicts like kind of have to work together, blah blah blah, to survive. I liked the idea of kind of like reassessing the threat and realizing that, okay, we thought this was our biggest threat on the planet, but now we realize, it's whatever these creatures are. If this guy can help us in any way to survive, it's just as important for him to survive as it is for us. Maybe we can strike an accord or an agreement here and work together. I like it in concept that one threat outweighs the other so much that the guy you were just incredibly scared of now has to become somebody you work with. It does just feel like they rush it too quickly, exactly as Sandy just said, based off how big of a threat they wanted to make him in this kind of lead up to this point, to then just like too quickly it switches to, okay, now
So
we can definitely trust you enough with our lives,
I think but I think that I'm just going to back on at that is because of what Riddick does on the next thing, because he takes the weapon and points at him, and he's still saying, in Riddick's head, I always thought he knows it as well. Well, I kind of need these guys as much as they need me now. It's like that, because he does, like, he's unaware, really. Well, we don't really know if he has, but he's unaware of the ship. So he still needs them, so, so it's kind of, and he really does, like, so it's to John, he's what was it? He's like, I think John says this is, a moment, and we get it later.
Don't forget this. Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah, don't forget his moment. And then he's like, he throws it back at him. But
the plot has to go here. We know the plot has to go here. I just I don't know if there could have been some other kind of hint or something that could have, helped to make this more
maybe even
plausible.
if he had saved Fries from that hole, like something to show that he's willing to kind of come back to the human side of things, because they look at him like he's got no humanity. Because I think at one point later on, we'll even hear Fries say, like, welcome back to humanity, when he does something a little bit redeeming.
So like,
and that's the right, and that's like, that's the idea of, like, I think he just needed to show a little something to say, maybe we can trust this guy, versus kind of just quickly going into trusting him. Again, I like the idea of, enemy and my enemy becomes my friend type of thing, and I think you can, do a good story with that. It just felt like they, missed a little chunk of something that could have helped that feel a little bit less rushed or forced.
But this is where I think it's good, because the character is become a cult. I think Riddick, going for, like, we're going to break into the movie, is Riddick, the character, is kind of cool, and you shouldn't like him, and you want, as Daryl said just there, you need a backstory, because he's cool at this point. He's kind of cool, a bit like, oh, I want to know more about him, because he's badass. He's a bit of a badass. But this movie isn't that movie.
Well, and
this movie is the movie isn't, like, I'm guessing they accidentally came out with a cool character, but this movie is what we're about to see. It's the monsters. It is the aliens on the planet, I suppose. Well, not.
And I will even say that part of watching this movie did, and I'll kind of go into this when I give my total review of it later, but it did make me more interested in the world of Riddick. Like, I kind of want to watch Chronicles of Riddick now and whatever came after it. So, fair enough in that regard. It kind of did accidentally create a pretty interesting, or, kind of that cool early 2000s action badass character. As you can see, Exhibit A here.
But that's it. Like, they use him as, like, the next scene is, like, drag the cells. That's it. That like, you've got the muscle. Get him over until they kind of they get one of them over. So they use him as kind of like a bit of, the meat, I suppose, like that, aren't they, as well? They figure out it works. And then Riddick's there saying, kind of again what Jay said earlier. It shows his experience because he tells them you don't like because it's prepped, but it hasn't got cells, and they're like, you don't prep your emergency ship unless you're about to get off. So what? Why were they? Why were they doing it, and why didn't they finish off the job? So it shows, but then of course, whilst Fry is sorting it out, John warns her about how Riddick got off his last, he can fly, he can go that, he will, again, we need to be wary of him. He will kill us and take the ship. If it like that, that is kind of in the means of like that, of what's going on. And of course, whilst that is going on, of course, one of our little kids have gone off wandering again, and they keep doing like that.
Hang on to these kids. Good grief.
Yeah. And of course, they're looking at that. Riddick finds this where he just enters. It's locked from the inside. It can't get on. And of course, Jack has at the same time got a new look and a new haircut. So he at this point is shaved her head and got some goggles, just like Riddick. And there's a thing is like she thinks get the upper hand, and he's like, "Come on, we're missing the party." Whilst that's happening, our unfortunate kid stumbles.
The kitty pilgrim.
Yeah, the kid there's like bat-like creatures hanging up in the dark, and they activate from outside the power, what opens up the shutters. The light beams through, and they all go scaper it like that, because we don't know why, but they scaper towards him. He goes into the next room, turns around, and then we just hear a cry of "Ah!" like that. So they all go in to investigate, and boom, he's been eaten, flesh eaten. Like, yeah, let's say that.
Yeah, pretty brutally too.
It's really like, he's been thing. That is bit is about him, like he's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of like graphic.
Yeah, some of that like portion of the melting sequence.
Yeah, exactly. So they go down, they get a flare because they've whilst Riddick is explaining, they barricaded everything else but set for this kind of pit that goes down, and they float a flare, and then we kind of guess, but then we don't have to read it out, is that's the remains of the previous occupants of this survey station or whatever, quarry or whatever it's called. Yep, they got eaten. So whilst I don't like that, and again we get it's more about giving us a little bit of a backstory of the core samples. Now, so Fry is investigating it, and then she remembers, the core samples. Now I'm guessing there's these dates are supposed to mean something.
There's a date embedded in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm guessing. So she knows. So she goes back to what is it called?
The orrery. And she knows it was 22 years ago that sample was taken.
Yeah. So on that date,
I think I missed something here. So I know she pulled out the sample, said it was 22 years prior.
Yeah.
But how did she connect that to this device? I know she said, like, I didn't
know
movie magic. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't, like, it wasn't there and I just missed it.
Oh no, I know how.
I thought they just skipped it because I didn't see anything about 22 years the first time she walked into the room and played with this device. So I was a little confused.
So she saw that the date on the sample was 22 years ago. When she was playing with the device, she was going backwards the first time. And every revolution is a year. Planets go around the sun and whatever their year is. So then you got that, right? Whatever their year is. She was going backwards, and it was going back from 20 something down to 16. Then she revved it back up to where it was to today. And that's how she got to 22, knowing that, okay, 22 from today is like the next time these planets align or whatever
Okay,
is
so
right now, because when she had it before, she was going backwards. If that makes sense.
Yep. Then I kind of missed that because I kind of remembered her walking into the room, kind of seeing the device and twisting it around a little bit, but I completely missed her, really paying attention to the dates there.
So yeah, she does that, clicks on, and then we got a eclipse, and it looks like it's a constant eclipse. It's not going to end for a while, so I'm guessing it's a year's rotation or something like that. So we get that. So everybody now knows, it's going to get dark, and it's going to get dark very, very soon. Then, of course, from that we get John's being sick outside, and Riddick kind of tells him, are you missing? You kind of your hit, aren't you? So he tells Fry within the things that did John tell you that why did your friend Owens had to scream until he died? So she gets pissed off, goes to investigate. Johns is taking his morphine shot through the eye. Guessing that's the best place. I don't know.
The way to do it.
Yeah. Apparently, it doesn't hurt if you have an injection through the eye. No, thank you. No,
I don't want to find out. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is morphine, so you're probably not going to feel much.
Yeah, if you do, it's not for long. Yeah, that's it.
At least not long.
So he's got some of his shotgun shells are this kind of hidden compartments where he has morphine on it. So she has a bit pissed off. She has a go at him about how he let Owen died, and
he's
then
a
he
very
kind
bad
of just
man. Very bad.
He's been essentially posing as like a police officer of some sort, but not really. Just like he's had the uniform on.
I've not told you.
Yeah, like he doesn't actually say he's a police officer. He just, wears the uniform and kind of lets her assume type of thing. So she's a little pissed off at that. Then finds out he's using drugs, and it's this whole like, well, who the hell really are you type of thing.
But he kind of explains it like Owen's his brain he was dead already. His brain just hadn't caught up yet, or something like that. Or his body didn't catch up yet.
Yeah,
I was like, you're kind of right. Like, are you gonna if they've
no.
No, I don't know, but if you go for if the drugs were there and it was a first aid kit and you might have a limited one and he's gonna die, and you kind of it's a bit of a hard thing if it's limited. It's different, I suppose, like triage, what they kind of say in this to live or die. It's a little bit different, but then he kind of just says he gets up, doesn't he, and then throws where Riddick stabbed him went for the sweet spot and missed, and he left a bit of a piece of metal there. So he's he's you can see the scar, so he's not lying, and she feels it. So you kind of gain. He's an arse because of the way he's speaking to people, and he's a bit of a dick about it. But he's still okay. You could he's got reasons why, and now you know why he really went after Riddick and kind of wants him back in the slammer. I suppose you want to say that. But whilst that is happening, they go outside, and the suns are setting very, very quickly, to the point where then the noise starts. It's dropping so much that the little aliens, I suppose they're not aliens because they're probably indigenous to the planet.
Yeah, technically the humans are the aliens.
Yeah, they're natives.
The humans are the aliens here.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to call them. These ones little, but I suppose they're babies, aren't they? They are like the baby ones.
It's kind of like an off-brand version of face huggers and xenomorphs, so to speak.
Yeah. They kind of come out, and of course, it's the ones that are further out is get back to the ship. Very, very quickly. So the ones who are kind of stuck are Shazza and Riddick are out there. They come back. They all get told to drop. I couldn't find a good picture of this one, but literally, so Riddick stays. Shazza.
I think this is about as good of a picture as YouTube will allow, because this one was kind of gross.
Yeah. And it's like that. And she stands up, and the little baby ones take her out. And then what do they do? Rip her in half.
They get dragged away.
Right at the
Yeah.
waistline.
And it's
Split in two.
it's. And I do like it, but that is I suppose it is. It's a lot that this era is literally when they were like, we need to make like it's a bit brutal because she gets ripped in half, but let's have her still screaming as they take her away in two like that. So it's quite good. I like
and the other little visual trick they use is these, as opposed to just like one of the big creatures getting her, it's the swarm of the little ones. So
yeah, the little ones. Yeah,
it's kind of the visual of, for lack of a less descriptive way to say it, the visual of her kind of getting pulled apart gets blurred a little bit by the swarm of, almost like a swarm of bats. Like,
yeah,
you can see just what you need to see, but not too much for the CGI to fail it and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. So then Riddick comes up. I do like this, but he just like dusts himself off. It's like, not a care in the world. That wasn't me. And I like that. I just thought that was Kings. And then of course they look out now. It's proper pitch black time, and he takes off his goggles, and now we see the bigger creatures are now taking flight. So yeah, it's now the danger, and he even looks at it like, what can you see? And it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful.
It's an interesting look, but I felt like even in this view, you still wouldn't be able to see all that clearly.
No,
like it's not quite like as good as night vision. And I gotta say, I'm like, I don't know, man. You forfeited your regular vision for this vision, and it's not all that great. You might have been all right with just letting your eyes adapt to the darkness, because your natural night vision may have been slightly easier to see than this.
So they, after that, get back to the, actually is Paris that actually says, get back to the the remaining of the course their broken craft, as they all go back, all panicking, is like, what are we gonna do? You can hear the creatures on the whole of the ship trying to get in. So they kind of decide to kind of bunker down. They go to things. And of course we get to see one whilst Riddick is going there. And of course what happens is, whilst Riddick is kind of hiding in the dark, being as quiet as he can, we get one of the kids turns up.
Kid number 2.
These poor kids had no chance in this movie.
Yeah, like, you're gonna literally. So then we get to see what the aliens see. Of the aliens, indigenous, whatever, indigenous creatures. They see in this kind of weird vocal spectrum. And I think even one of I think it's like, is it Abdul? Says,
Abu.
he says,
Abu.
yeah, he actually says, this is like, what is that? Paris goes, why are they making that noise? And he says, doesn't he, one of them, I think it's him, he says maybe they can do it by
it's how
like
they
a sonar.
see.
It's like a sonar kind of thing.
It's like that.
And it's like, yeah. So that's it. And of course, then that kid he's a goner. They run off, and then they use the torch on the creature and find out it burns them. It really does some damage.
The light,
so they've got your light is actually injuring them. So they've got now, well, we've got a plan now. We can actually get loads of torches, and we can get to their plan is a very easy plan, is to get from A to B. That can't be hard. And then whilst we're going from A to B, we're going to take all the remainder of the power cells. That is it. That's the plan. Unfortunately,
and they use the same LED light strips that my 14-year-old has in her room.
Yeah, that you would see in any rave in the late 90s.
Yeah. So even going back just a smidge to the picture that you showed of what the aliens see, that was another point where I thought, ooh, we could have done something different.
I found their vision and Riddick's to be too tough to look through.
So
they
just get Riddick.
A little more thought there around, like it just didn't. It just didn't feel.
I suppose they wanted it to, like, again, how do we make it look cool enough, but make it not look like we're just ripping off Predator?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because what else could they do?
Had to have its own aesthetic somehow.
Yeah. It's hard, again, being unique and then not ripping off somebody else, I suppose.
I think for me, it comes down to like the crispness of the visual, if that makes sense. Like I'm okay with the snowy black and white type of look. It just was too blurred. Like I wish I could have seen that they can make out more of what's in front of them. And the same for Riddick's vision. I think the purple background with that kind of lighter purple / white highlight to be the, figures moving is an interesting look. It just wasn't like crisp enough to be able to see the detail and things. It still just looked a little too blurry for me. And maybe that was a product of watching a movie from 2000 made in probably 1999 on a television from 2025. Like maybe it's just the definition made it.
Could be.
I'm sure that didn't help. This new technology isn't going to help this movie in terms of the visuals when it comes to TV.
But he's got more.
So
clarity
maybe it looks
here.
better then. That
Like even here, it has got a bit more clarity.
Yeah, like this doesn't look too
bad.
bad. It was just some of the ones when some of the things are fighting each other and all that, like they kind of just become two light blurs that are just kind of mashing into each other. Like it just wasn't enough. I guess crispness is the best word, if that's even a word. The crisp level of the visual wasn't quite good enough. But again, I didn't mind. I can appreciate what they were trying to do. It just felt like it wasn't, maybe budget, maybe just the technology of the time wasn't quite clear enough.
But yeah, so they got their plan is used because Riddick can see in the dark is giving point. And I like this bit. He's like, is it clear? Looks clear.
Yeah, I did.
And then Johns comes out. And then, of course, you kind of get our first proper look at the alien. That's probably one of the best pictures. Like, well, I keep saying alien. I want to call them aliens. Yeah, it is there. And, of course, they carry on. It's like after they're like, nope, it looks clear. They carry on. And then, of course, whilst they're going on into what Sandy just said, they're kind of glow sticks. This is where we kind of get our first indication that something's wrong with Jack, because they now know our blood. So there's something off. But they carry on with their glow sticks.
I don't like this. I again.
This looked funny. This looked a little funny.
It is, but I guess
get it.
I get it. It's supposed to be. Oh, was it like UV? Like I don't know. Like some kind. I'm guessing it's like they use it in Star Trek the Voyager, don't they? Where they have the power cells are like gel packs.
Yeah, it's power.
Like, So maybe it's just a different version. It's like, how can we make it look cool but not cool in the 2000s? It's okay. Of course, it gets noisy, and our friend, was it he drops something. Paris drops something. So Jack goes to get it. There's noise, and he panics, and he pulls all the strobe lighting, whatever, out, and he's left in. He's in the dark, and he gets. And I think he actually says, I was supposed to die in Paris.
Yeah, I was supposed to die in France. Yeah, I thought he had a nice little, he shows a little bit of kind of bravery going out here in the end, like, screw it. But it was also followed right behind him being a little bit of a coward and like running and crawling away. Yeah, so I want to say he actually had a pretty good send off, but it's led into
with the flame
weak moment. Yeah, like kind of like, oh, I was supposed to die in Paris with the flame. Like it's a good little line, and it's a nice little kind of like the blowing the flames, a badass little thing. He sees all these things around him. It's I wanted to be like, oh, that's kind of a good ending for him, except for the fact that just a second prior he was kind of crawling around in cowardice.
He's a bit of a weakling, a bit of a coward, and he's as you say, he's just he's the expendable character. That's the little bit of comedy relief. But he goes, and everybody else is like, oh, next one's get the flares out. So they've got flares, and of course, whilst that's happening, Riddick watches them eat him like that, and Fry goes, do I need to know? And he's just like, nope, I don't know like that. And I like it because you actually see his head pop off, don't you? His head just rolls over. And that takes Riddick's view over to the right, where we have a few more of the creatures acting a little bit strange, looking at Jack. So Riddick picks up on this. That's because they can smell the blood. So they're going off. We're, what is our plan? Well, we've still got to get to the ship. And then, of course, Riddick outs Jack of like, yeah, because the girl was bleeding. And then, of course, they all think it's Fry. Fry goes, no, I'm not. I haven't been cut. I think John says it as well. But it's he means the girl. And, of course, then Jack, as he thinks, is... I like this. I must say, when I first got it, Sandy, I must say I didn't get it.
It did. I didn't see it coming either. And I will say now that I know, looking back on all the screenshots that this actor's been in, now I could be like, oh yeah, how didn't I see it? But I will say, so I think they made the character just kind of so annoying that it distracted me from looking too much into it.
You might not have looked at the facial features.
Like I kind of just like, oh, this kid's annoying. Just kidding.
Yeah,
we go back to Riddick. So I think, and again, if that was purposely done, good on them, because it worked. Because I did not see that switch coming until it did. Now looking back, it's like, oh, dummy, how did you not see that? But yeah, I didn't in the moment.
So they're like, hey, sacrifice her.
Basically.
So John's when they come on an argument, does it? Well, no, Fry and John's outs Fry, doesn't he? Of like, you were going to kill us. Abdul
you were gonna
steps in and goes, you've made your point, but it's past it. They've got more things to worry about now. And of course then John's comes up with a great idea. You know who's going to be my best buddy now? Riddick. Let's get a plan together. I've had enough of these. And he comes up with the plan of like, take out the girl, and then drag the body at least 40 feet behind him.
It's
like brutal. Kind of
as bait.
It's kind of as bait,
to keep the bait back there and just away from them enough to keep them safe. Brutal, like, but and I will say, in terms of the Johns, it's if you put it into effect, it probably would have worked to some degree, at least until the bait's gone, so to speak. But in terms of John's character here and that confrontation with Fry, that character, I got to say, I as much as I don't like the John's character, I agree with him. You're at the halfway point, if not more. Going backwards is the worst plan you can have at that point, because it's not like the road back is any less treacherous than the road ahead of you, which at least holds safety if you can get there. So I agree with him in terms of, if you got to keep going forward here, you don't turn around and just essentially do the same distance just in an unproductive way. It would make no sense.
But I do. And then of course you get then Riddick, instead of going, not, I think you're wrong, it's the wrong thing to do. He just comes out with, don't we need somebody bigger? Like that. And that's him going,
well, and that I like, because now you're starting to see those little parts of Riddick's humanity, because generally speaking, he seems kind of on board with this plan with John's, because he's kind of thinking it out a little bit, like, all right, how much cord would we need? Like, obviously the cord's got to be fairly long. That's when John says about 40 to 50 feet. Like, Riddick's thinking about it and being like, again, his survivalist is coming in. We're like, yeah, okay, this actually makes sense. This could work. It's an option. And he's almost on board until John's offers for it to be Jack's character who becomes the bait. And not only that, he insinuates that Riddick's the one who's going to have to do it. And you see this little bit of Riddick's humanity kick in, where it's like, oh, so like this whole thing is, you want me to do the dirty work you're not willing to do, type of thing, which immediately pisses him off. And then he figures, you know what, if we're going to do this, we might as well have a bigger piece of bait that can only help us. And then it becomes them two fighting.
It's a good little fight. I don't mind this little fight scene. It's kind of, it's it's done again. It's with a flare, so it's flares burning out. But I think it's good. They have a good, it's obvious that Riddick is the better fighter, but as a
he can hold his own. The other one
he can hold his own.
Right.
But I don't buy that.
Didn't you?
Well, because you're looking at Vin Diesel, you're looking at Vin Diesel's body, you're looking at how built he is. You've seen him.
I wasn't looking much at Vin Diesel's body.
You're having him dislocate his, shoulders and elbows. And then this guy, John, just doesn't look like he can hold his own with Vin Diesel. So that's where I just thought he could snap him in half and be done with it.
And whatever, you kind of get the idea that he's of a different species than human too, so fair enough as well. And I will say one little thing we kind of glossed over, which also plays into the decision of Vin Diesel's character to fight the John's character here, is you can tell he's got a little bit of a soft spot for the Jack character as a kid as well. Because like obviously the Jack character really likes Riddick. He's like, you know, he, she. Obviously we first think it's a he, then we find out it's a girl. You know, but she's got a lot of appreciation, admiration for Riddick's character. She shaves her head, puts on, you know, a pair of goggles. Like you can see that this kid obviously idolizes Riddick. And Riddick has kind of a bit of a soft spot for that. For somebody who's completely cold and calloused, it's, you know, weirdly the one thing that breaks through to him. So that's kind of like that seeds planted throughout, you know, getting up to this point. And then the final kind of confirmation that Riddick does, you know, have a soft spot for the kid is John's character telling him he has to basically use that person as bait. And he's like, no, not happening.
Yeah, because there is, he's a bit like more cocky and friendly with him.
Yeah, with Jack than anybody else.
Yeah, so, yeah. And of course, yeah. I don't mind it because like there's a point like when Johns is on top and they're fighting like that, and when Riddick knows I've got you, and he starts like remember again. He
brings the line.
Remember this moment, and of course then don't. And then he was it. Let's get that the picture up when he actually cuts his back, and of course as Daryl said. One rule, stay in the light. There was only one rule, and that was it. And then, of course, lights the fade.
After one fight, Vin Diesel's character has a really cringe line. And I don't think it might be when he fights the alien after it. Oh, God, now I forget what it was. I'll have to try to remember by the time we get to that point, because he has one line that's like, oh, my God, that is so early 2000s action film. It made me laugh in a a nostalgic kind of way.
Everybody's got in Fast and Furious.
It was one of those ones that was like, oh, they thought this was so badass when they filmed it, and it's just so cringe now. But I'll have to see if I can try to remember what it was before we get to that point.
So Johns is out there now in the dark, and he's only got a little torch on his weapon, and of course he gets knocked down, and then one of the creatures spears him through the midsection. You can't really see on this again. Riddick is looking on, the blood's pouring on, and that's again the best picture I could find. Actually,
and I'll say the CGI in this moment didn't look too bad, but
it looked more practical. It looked like they did actually practical.
It definitely did, and I thought that was one of the kind of points where I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good. But it was also right on the tail of the bit of Riddick vision and then the bit of alien vision that both looked a little rough, because again, it was just a little hard on the eyes. But then you switch right to this regular view, regular vision with a practical effect. I'm like, oh, that actually looked pretty good.
So the rest of the gang, of course, are now panicking. They've literally took back because of the fight, and they kind of scampered off, not in the greatest point of things. And then Riddick comes back, kind of, we need to go forward. And then he randomly finds a skeleton, fossilized one, and
a practice dummy.
I'm guessing it's a kind of, as I think we've said, is like he's got knowledge of things. He realizes there's a blind spot. Okay, that is all I've got to say about it. Just like but then like the scene that does come about it, they could have done without it. I'm guessing it's just to show that how observant Riddick is. I suppose they're just trying to get his.
I did not know what the point was. I did not know.
So when I was watching this, I thought he was figuring out how to like snap off the side parts of the like the front part of the skeleton there, like the face, because it's got like almost like a cross pattern. So I thought he was figuring out like, okay, if I can leverage it this way, control it this way, maybe snap these. I did not pick up on he was trying to find a blind spot until we get to the point where we realize he figured out the blind spot.
Yeah. Now we're going to go forward again. We're going into a canyon. All the I love this. Like, it's one of those things in any circumstances is if you're going through a canyon and then there's blue blood, or they think it's rain. They're getting attacked by all these things, and then somebody says, "Don't look up." What is the first thing everybody does? Right. If it's like that, it's like if you tell somebody who's scared of heights, "Don't look down." They immediately look down. It's things. So, and I didn't mind this. Again, it's like a little bit of a kind of cool little bit, because there's we've seen all the elephants being eaten, I suppose you're going to call it that. There's no other wildlife. And these creatures are so hungry now, they're eating themselves, they're attacking themselves, because there's only like what we got 4 or 5 left now, of other species on the planet. So they've got, they're attacking and eating themselves. So I like that bit. I thought that was a little bit of a smart move by the writers, going, well, hold it, they've eaten last time, they've made probably everything on this planet extinct. When they wake up from their slumber, they're going to be hungry. If the only other thing.
And I assume that their hibernation is that 22-year length.
I'm guessing
like that's because there seems to be no nighttime on this planet. So I'm assuming it's a 22-year hibernation. So without a civilization's worth, and I don't even think the last time they ate 22 years prior, it was really a civilization's worth of people. It seemed like it was maybe a research group's worth or small settlements worth. So I mean, it only makes sense. 22 years later, they wake up hungry and there's not enough there, or next to nothing. So the only thing is each other, I guess, at that point.
So whilst they're going through that, of course, Jack gets attacked by things. Riddick's out the front. He kind of, now this is the weird, because he goes and he doesn't. He's like, oh, do I go back? He's like, I always think this scene for a split second. He doesn't go to help until Fry goes and helps. He's kind of like, oh, do I? I'd be in more trouble. But then of course he goes there, and he just shows his pure rage and strength. He actually kind of wrestles the alien, so he doesn't things. Is it believable? It's an action movie. He's supposed to be like, the all-powerful kind of, as Sandy likes the muscles, so he's using his muscles. And he does the right, he guts the alien. The alien falls down, and then of course
and this is where we get the line. He stands up right here at this picture and says,
"Oh, you don't know who I was messing with." It's like,
he goes, exactly. He's like, you do not know who you were effing with. And the second time,
why would they?
Oh my god, that is so early 2000s, late.
But in a very,
it killed me.
It's very, I can't even do it. It's like, they don't know who they were fucking with.
It was so Vin Diesel, so early 2000s. It just made me, I legitimately chuckled out loud. And again, not in like a bad way, just in a, man, it brings me back to this kind of movie type of way.
Sorry. And then Sandy Key was
blue blood and all.
But so they get on, they're on things, and then of course they have got their flame torches, and then sod's law. We missed the part, didn't we? Because they're just prior to this. This is why he takes the Abdul. He kind of goes, "Oh, do you want to pray?" Doesn't he? And he kind of goes, "I've prayed with everybody else." And he goes, "Oh, even if you don't believe in God." And he goes, "Oh," when he explains, "I absolutely do believe in God. I actually just hate the FF of him." I think that was a good little scene. I forgot about that.
I thought it was kind of a little interesting dialogue, interesting kind of background for Riddick, because he tells a little bit about, like, the life that he's had, which was obviously one of basically, brutal nature the whole way through. And it was kind of one of those little power that I thought that was actually a really good kind of like one-liner. Obviously it came with some other dialogue, but that was the kind of punchline, so to speak, just not in a funny way. And I thought it delivered some pretty good sting. It was kind of like, I mean, somebody who's lived that kind of life would probably feel that way. So I actually really liked that.
I forgot about that scene. It's very good. I think that there. Of course, whilst and then of course he laughs at the things, and then of course our kid number after
3
Riddick laughs, and then he goes.
Well, this guy here is one of the worst guardians of all time. He lost all 3. Jack's still perfectly fine at this point, but all 3 of his kids have been just toast.
You're not going to call him up as a babysitter, are you? Who's your nanny? No, he's not.
Yeah, not him.
I did chuckle. I in a really mean way that all the 3 kids just literally are like,
especially this one too, because like there was, again, like I think it was maybe just the effects, but the visual of the kid just getting pulled up the side was just so he just like didn't see it coming. A little bit of a chuckle burst out, like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. and
Yeah.
and the effects didn't look great. So I did get a little chuckle out of it, even though it's not that type of scene.
Yeah. So yeah, on this bit. So now Riddick puts them in a cave because it's been raining, their flames are going out, and then he goes off to the town of well, the mining site, I'm guessing, the settlement. And of course they're pitch black, their torches run out, and lo and behold, they look up and there is a life form that glows. So now they've got light again. I don't mind this because it kind of makes sense, you know. What's it? Jurassic Park's life finds a way. I
Life
suppose
finds a
like
way. Bioluminescence finds a
Mhm.
way.
and you would do like, yeah,
Yeah, I
Yep,
mean,
if
not,
you were
in
in
total
total
darkness, you would,
just like
look at
the
the
bottom of the
fish.
ocean.
Yep,
Mhm.
100%.
and I
100%.
thought that was I was like, again, I was like, that is clever. Without them
Mhm.
losing light, they would have now not found that there was actually, yeah, it's a creature, but it was, yeah, there's natural light there, and I like
Right.
that, and I like how these creatures are probably protected because they glow. So
Right.
they are a food source, but the other creatures
Can't go
won't.
anywhere near them.
Yeah, can't go no near them. So it's again, it's like
See,
they've
and that
been
was the weird thing with this movie for
it's
me
got
was
clever
that
moments. Yeah,
it's got these moments where it's like, wow, you guys actually thought out the writing there quite a bit, and that's pretty good. And then there's times where it's like, oh, you guys just kind of, you're glazing through things, just trying to get to the next thing. So it was very strange how at points it had these bits of cleverness, and then other times it just didn't.
yeah. I think that's when they realized how close we are to budget.
Yeah.
You can guarantee somebody was
Yeah.
like, we need this to be a 60 million dollar budget or whatever,
Mhm.
and then they were like, and how much we got left? Boy, you screwed it all up. Like on that
37
last bit.
cents. 37 cents. What can we do?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Riddick starts prepping the ship. We see Fry putting him in the flask of I'm sure they're Jack Daniel bottles, aren't they? They're square. I'm not a whiskey
Yeah,
drinker, but
it looks like it.
yeah. So Riddick is getting powered up, and of course, who turns up is Fry to say, and this is probably the most emotional scene in the movie, is of course where Riddick goes to things, and I like it because he kind of, he kind of gets in her head.
Mhm.
It's a very kind of back and forth. He's just talking, come on, look, you've done all you can do. If you go back, you probably, we're going to die, and it's, yeah. And I like it. Like, look, I'll make it easy for you. And he just sticks out the
Right.
hand. Look, I'll make it easy for you. And she's still going, like crying, she's like, I suppose kind of like her emotions are hit of like, not just that she was going to kill him. She'd lost, her friends. She was going to kill the 40 of them, to save herself and Owen. She lost Owen. She's seen all these people die, and she just starts like breaking down, like that. And then, of course, when he starts ushering her into the ship, she loses it, and I like that. I thought that was good, like emotional moment.
Yeah.
That she's like, she just like that. I like how more again the directors were quickly like, yeah, she's going to run at him and she's going to push him down. That's how. But he then instantly gets the upper hand. He just turns it around, even though she's like, anger, you got to do this. It's your, we've got to do this. It's a great scene because it shows that, yeah, she's like weighs nothing, and he's like, the muscles, and he's going to overpower her, and he's just like, ugh. And he explains, well, if it means this much to you, will you die for them? And she explains, yes, I will. So that's, yeah, kind of okay then. That's all. If you're willing to die, and it's kind of like, again, it's his trait. Well, I'm soulless. I'm supposed like that. My soul isn't a thing. At least you're giving me a cause, I suppose, like that to aim for. I thought it was, yeah, it's a very. I thought it was the best scene, and it was probably the best acted scene between two people throughout the movie. I think this is the one they wanted that impact on.
Yeah, well, I think an impact is a great word that you just used there, because I do feel like, it's probably the best acted scene, I would say. Not the highest bar through the rest of the movie, but it is definitely probably one of the best acted scenes, and just the like emotional impact of it, in that kind of inner struggle of her conscience of, one, again, like anybody would want to just get the hell out of there, save themselves if they could. the task ahead of her of having to go backwards, get these people back. Yes, it's very, it's dangerous. Good chance you don't make it out of it when you have freedom literally 2 feet in front of you. So that kind of back and forth concept of it, of like, do I save them? Do I go with this guy and just leave type of thing is great. But then also that guilty conscience of, well, I did tell, like, you also told those people you'd come back to get them. Like, it'd be one thing if you got split up and you had to, and you wanted to just go back and find them. In this case, she specifically told them, I'll come back for you. So that guilt is going to weigh 10 times heavier than even just if you happen to have lost each other and you really just want to go back and save them. Plus, they pile it on with the guilt of initially from the movie where she wanted to just dump all of these passengers in the first place. Like that whole internal conscience struggle for her, I thought was really well done. A really cool, interesting concept. Again, another little spot where they seem to really flesh out and think out a lot of the writing that was going to go into this portion of it. The little upper hand she gets on Vin Diesel is interesting, and you kind of think for a second, like, wait a minute, is she really going to overpower Vin Diesel's character? But no, it's just because he's kind of so alienated from humanity that he almost just finds this more interesting than anything. Like, he's not really concerned about his own safety. He knows end of the day he can go to and from this point to save them and back to the ship and be fine. He'll survive it. It's more these people who won't. So he's almost just kind of intrigued. So like the way she takes him down is more because he allows her to, because he says, I think a little bit earlier, like, oh, you got a little fight in you. I like that. He's kind of just toying with her, playing with it. It's almost like it's like humans are a pet to him, or she's a pet to him, where he's more interested and curious of her behavior.
Yeah.
Which
this is humanity. What is that? This is that bit of
curiosity he has towards her, and just and that I think is interesting, and that's what sells him on being interested. Seeing her, like you said, that scene, that part of the dialogue where she says, he asks her, like, "Are you willing to die for this?" And when she says yes, that's all he needed to know. I was like, all right, we can go back, because I'm not going to die. I won't die from this, but if you are, I'm willing to see how this plays out out of pure curiosity.
As I'm saying, I think that's what makes his character thing, because in your head, you kind of, from what previously said, he's been in prisons, he's been like hunted down by the law or mercenaries. And he's been with scumbags, and he's had a bad life. So like to see somebody who is actually, I suppose, righteous in their own way, trying selfless, to do the righteous. So it's like, a selfless manner of like, it's not all about my survival. It's about, caring for somebody else. Even though she did want to kill them all, she redeemed herself kind of in a way, but she's in a horrific situation. But like, it's I thought it was again, as you said previously, clever writing. It's cleverly done. It's like, I get what you're doing. So in that things, they go back, of course, to Jack and Abdul, who are standing in their little things. And of course, Fry turns up with a very smirky, I don't worry. I like this, like his face in this. It's like, you don't. I think he's like kind of thing, like Jack says, he was never gonna leave us, and he's like, I'll go along with that statement.
I never had a doubt. I think she says,
that's it. And it's just like, of course I didn't. Of course, then, they decide, we've got to now run away again, and again the cabin is there. Run away. And they've all hold hands. He's waiting for that moment where they split. And they literally just dash for it. So they get there. He gets kind of separated very quickly as they're running back. They all get back to the ship, all three of them. He's kind of he's detoured himself to help them escape, of course. And then we get what we said earlier, about the blind spot. So he comes across one that doesn't see him at first, and then he kind of quickly gets into the blind spot. So, but unfortunately, whilst he's doing the right thing and actually it's working, he didn't expect for what we see in that is an alien creature comes from behind.
Clever girl.
And then and then you get the terror scream from Riddick after they kind of like, should we leave? And then of course and
that's actually something I really liked as well, because obviously with her and Riddick in the scene before this, you've got a bad guy essentially, or what's pegged to be this bad guy, basically telling her to ignore her conscience, let the other people die, let's get out of here and escape. And you kind of think that's more of a Riddick and his lack of humanity type of thing. And you see her humanity win out. But what I thought was interesting about this portion of it was now it's the other two characters who are kind of like the people she just, had all that guilt for and wanted to go back and save. Now, even they're kind of like, they don't really say it, but I can't think of the gentleman's name in the movie. Abu. He kind of puts his hands up like, well, we could kind of just go and get out of here. He's kind of screwed if he's already screaming with these things fighting him. So even these good characters, or what we perceive to be, the good moral characters, given that they're not Riddick, even they're kind of thinking the same thing. Like maybe we should just leave them and save our own tails here and get out of here. And again, she chooses so for her to be seeing both groups of people do that, I think is interesting because her morality and her humanity wins out, and she goes on her way to try to save Riddick as well.
Yeah. So yeah, she's then decides, she finds him, lucky why movie magic, stumbles across him. I'm guessing there's only one path to go. He staggers. You see cuts. You don't see much. He looks knackered. He's got a cut on the leg. He's got cuts on the back, and then she gets him up, drags him away, and then what do you hear? Now, it was funny because of course, I knew what was going to happen. And I will say what my girlfriend said at this point and see if you two realized it. She went, "Oh my God, why did he just stab her before the next scene?" So
yes.
Did you do? Yeah.
I thought it was exactly what it ended up happening. I was shocked by it. I actually didn't see it coming somehow, but I did assume that it was the aliens or the creatures rather.
Sandy?
Yeah, I did too. I thought they were all goners. That was it.
We all can say.
I thought it actually went through both of them, and then I realized, there was a Chronicles of Riddick, so it couldn't have gone through both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I actually thought it kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of skewered the two of them.
Yeah. I did too, but I thought
it would have been actually good if he actually did, because that would have been quite clever if from you hear the noise. Then he gets kind of empowered in the stomach, but not
enough, right? The depth, not enough because it had already gone through her, type of thing. Right?
But and of course, then they have a slow down moment, I suppose, and then it just and she goes
it's just abrupt, and that's it. And then it's immediately like, oh yeah, no, this is a character death. This isn't she's gonna get out of it. Like she's good.
But because she is the focal character really in the movie. She's the female hero star, I suppose, like that.
It's the ultimate
and just you're dead. Literally, gone. That's it. You're dead. Like that. I was like, wow, that's a good ending. Just
especially for her character. It's a good redemption arc. She started the movie. Her first real action was almost sacrificing, 40 people to save herself. And in the end, she sacrifices herself to save 4 people or 3 people. So it's the ultimate kind of, you were willing to kill tens of people or sacrifice tens of people to save your skin. And now you'll sacrifice your own self for 2 or 3. So it obviously shows the journey she's been on throughout this.
She's not, because she wasn't supposed to. So now the worst thing is this bit. I must say, it's showing that this bit should have been impactful, and it's not for me.
No,
and
it was more shocking than impactful, I think.
Yeah, and he doesn't deliver it. He cannot deliver this line. I
couldn't even make out what he said, to be honest with you.
It's like, not for me, and he does it twice, and it's like, oh, and I could see the director just going, look, we've tried it.
we can't spend the budget filming one more day. That has to be
it.
Because he can't say the line in such it should be like a heartbreaking moment that, hold it, I didn't mind if I died, but you were, as we said, the righteous, the selfless, and look what just happened to you. You went out your way not just to go and save these people, you then came back to try and save me. And it's just like the line delivery is absolutely shocking. It's the worst. That has a lot.
What is the actual line? I couldn't make it out.
I think it's not for me.
Not for me.
Yeah, not for me, because she says, she would die for them, and he's not for me, and he does it twice.
Oh, saying she wasn't supposed to die for me. Oh,
right. She would die for them, but she wouldn't die for him. So it's
gotcha. Okay.
Riddick,
so that actually, that should have been a pretty good line. It just wasn't.
Yeah, it's just really badly delivered. It's just like, oh, you can't act, can you? And that's it. Yeah, not for me.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, it is terrible. But yeah, of course, then, Riddick gets back to the thing, starts prepping, I suppose, the startup procedure. Then something just comes across him. He just powers down. And then they're like, what are you doing? And it's a 90s line. It's like, we didn't say goodnight. Like
Oh
that.
yeah, we can't.
And
Well, he goes, we
that's it.
can't leave.
Yeah, we
without
can't
saying
leave.
goodbye or something like that.
And it's like that. So then he turns on everything. They go up into taking out things. Now I always think this bit, I was like, that would probably damage the hull slightly. You're not gonna probably do
with
that.
the way they're all
For
banging
sure.
against it, 100%.
And
Yeah.
I would not take an extra minute. Get me the heck
Yeah.
out of there.
Right.
Like, really.
That was the kind of walk off in the explosion type of moment.
Yeah. And of course, then we get the end scene in the planet. I brought this up because this is shocking CGI. We thought the beginning scene was this bit was this was a bit bad. It's a bit ropey. Quickly they go then, lucky enough to back to them guys. Who should we pray for? I got my idea, and Jack comes up with the what do we say when, because they're in a ship that they just need to get into the, I suppose, transit lane, I suppose, or whatever, and they'll get picked up.
Shipping lanes.
So shipping lane, yeah. So she comes up with a thing. What do we say about you? Because if we can't turn you in after what you've done. So yeah, tell them I died. Tell them Riddick died on the planet, and that is pitch black. That's how it ends. Just literally, just with okay, that's the movie. It's things. Now, I like it. It's intriguing, like I say, because of the character Riddick. I'm going to my one in a minute, but there are things. But I think like how this has become like a cult classic is a bit vague. Now, I think there's, because you go by sorry. Whitley, like other movies that the character is better than the movie is probably like Snake Plissken. The character of Snake Plissken
Escape
is
from New York.
New York, but like LA is awful. But you have those ones like a great character. The movie's a bit so. Like this one is entertaining because it's got like you can't go really wrong with sci-fi. Bit of monsters like that and a cat and mouse, I suppose, like that. So it makes it a fun movie. Is it great? No, but how I wanted to put this on because it was my pick because of just how one character can make a franchise. And this is it. It's going to be 4 movies of Riddick. It's very bizarre because if you actually go by the strength of the movie, there shouldn't have been a sequel, but people loved Riddick. That's it. And I think, like both of you said, he's an interesting character. He's like, because he's the anti-hero, so he makes it like cool. It's to have that. Oh, what was he doing? What was he like in prison? How is he gonna what is his adventures going on? It's interesting in that aspect. But now, before we go on to the movie, you guys. So, Sandy, you got the numbers.
I put my notes up first just because just for a couple of things. So this was not based on a book. I think some people think there's a book because it's called Chronicles of Riddick and people assume there's a book. There's no book. It was a screenplay written by Ken and James Wheat based on an idea by David Madden, directed by David Toohey, if that's the way we say it. It's the way it looks. So forgive me, Mr. Toohey, if that's not how we say his name. And okay, honestly,
he's done some movies in the past.
He did Aliens 3, right? Or Alien 3.
The Fugitive. He did Waterworld.
Those.
That.
Okay. There's kind of that aesthetic then, because it kind of, kind of feels a little bit like that, kind of aesthetic. Other than Vin Diesel, I did not know any of the other people in this film. I really didn't. I'd seen the name Keith David, and I'm sure I'll see other films that he's in.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
He's been in a lot. He's
I
even done a
hope
lot of voice
I
acting.
hope you will see him very, very quickly, because there is a connection, and the connection is Keith David in Platoon.
In
He's in
Platoon. Okay.
Platoon. He's in
Okay.
Platoon. What is
So
our
then-
next one?
Oh,
Yeah.
so-
We always have these little threads between
Yes.
from film to film.
And if the Thing comes out, that'd be 3 in a row, because he's in the Thing as well.
Oh gosh. So the scenes, both outdoor and set, were all filmed in Australia. So both the external shots and the set shots were filmed in Australia. And as we mentioned, lovingly and caringly, for about a shoestring of a budget, as we could call a shoestring budget, for the amount of effects that were used. So this was made for $23 million in the year 2000, is about a little less than double today, 43 million. It made 52
Is that
million.
US, I'm guessing? Is that?
Yeah, that's yes,
not
US
Australian
dollars.
Yeah.
It made 52 worldwide, and that also included the DVD sales after. So this was not considered a box office success. And I did look up, when we began the stream, I looked up, okay, why didn't this catch on in the US? It wasn't named something different. It was named Pitch Black. And I looked to see, oh, maybe there was something really huge at the box office that week. Well, the only other film that released that week that was the film that actually beat it that opening week was The Whole Nine Yards, because it was a Bruce Willis movie. And The Whole Nine Yards made 80 million in its opening weekend. And this film only made 30 in the opening weekend. So it was, and just not considered a critical success. However, there is an Australian Cinematographers Society, and there is an Australian Cinematographers Society Award. And David Egby, who did the cinematography for this film, did win that particular award for this film. It was not nominated for any of the awards that we would, imagine. The reviews are around average. It's like, I think, a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's got like a 49 on Metacritic, which is out of 100. Kind of meh across the board. But critically, it's not panned. A lot of the reviews just say it could have done a little more. And some of the reviews do certainly take a crack at the effects. Are we now doing our summaries? Because I'll go right into my summary. So the influences that I saw there from the very beginning, it is becoming a trope to have people woken out of cryostasis too early. And we saw it just 3 years prior to this film in Event Horizon. And we see it in a number of films. So I saw, I don't want to say a ripoff, but you saw that in this film. And at the end, what I will call the clever girl moment, we saw just a few years prior to this movie in Jurassic Park in 1993. So, but as films in the whole history of film, there can't be all unique moments, right? There has to be some lifting of ideas. Overall, I give the film credit for what it tried to do. I do think it is an interesting story. It didn't pull me in, though, to his character. I know, like, Riddick became a cult favorite and an interesting character. I didn't get it. I didn't get his motivation. I did probably by the end see where he saw that Fry was willing to, quote, die for them. I also didn't buy her. And maybe it's because we didn't spend enough time with these characters and we didn't really understand them that much. I will give the film credit for distinguishing the characters. Sometimes when you have a whole lot of characters, there's not enough to distinguish each one. And here I think it did a good job where each character. Of course, some of them don't last very long. you know, so in that aspect, I think the writing was okay. I give the film a 4.5. This is not a film that I would watch again. I would recommend it. I do think there's much to appreciate in the story, and then of course what will come later in the later Riddick films, including the one that we may see next year, Furia. Um, but you know, overall, it's just not one that I would care to spend my time on again.
Fair enough. Jay, over to you.
Yeah, so this was for me another first time watch. And I agree with a lot of what Sandy just said there. I think it was very well put, you know, in terms of a lot of the flaws and even some of the strengths of the movie. This is a weird one for me where my score is probably going to feel a little bit more harsh than my opinion of it or my enjoyment of it watching it was. You know, I had fun with it. It's I think the two biggest issues for me were probably the acting and some of the visual effects. The acting just wasn't very great across the board, even though there were a couple moments of some pretty decent to solid acting. But the acting is definitely not the strong suit. It's not a movie that necessarily, you know, would have been looking for some Oscar-worthy acting, but it was definitely kind of below average. So I think you can do a little bit better, even if it's a movie that's not intended to have that kind of, you know, iconic type of acting. The visuals were just a little bit distracting, and I don't even mean so much the CGI, even where it gets a little bit iffy. Again, it was more so just kind of the filters and some of the cameras and warping effects that they used that just took me a little bit out of it in terms of distracting me so much that I couldn't quite pay attention to some of the scenes. But those are my two biggest issues. The story is fine and solid. I think the writing can range from not great to pretty clever at certain points. Unfortunately, there's not as many pretty clever points as I would have liked, but I don't think the writing's, you know, terrible or anything. It's a little bit kind of point to point at some spots, which, you know, again, it's fine. This is a sci-fi blockbuster type of thing. Well, I guess maybe not the biggest of blockbusters given the budget, but it's that style of movie. So again, not going to have your Oscar style writing. But I mean, I had fun with it. Weirdly enough, I had some pretty good fun with it. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I would recommend it. And it did get me into the Riddick character. Like, I want to watch Chronicles of Riddick and whatever the third one was. And if I like those, I may even watch the fourth one. So credit to it there. I think that's what any movie that was the beginning of a franchise wants to do, is get you kind of hooked into, if not, you know, if that movie or story didn't specifically, you know, make it that it's something you'd want to rewatch over and over. The fact that it even hooks you enough into wanting to see the progression of that character and his story, I think, is a pretty good job well done. So for me, I settle on about probably a 5. I think it's just got a few technical issues that are hard to get over, but it's not a 5 where it's unwatchable or anything. To me, that, you know, it's of an average score. It's not a terrible movie or unwatchable. It's not perfectly done or great. It's, you know, dead center in the middle where it was an interesting watch. I had a fun time watching it. Coming up from being a kid in that era of those type of movies, those action movies, it was nostalgic for me. So I'd recommend it. I myself am going to probably check out the rest of the Riddick series. So, you know, again, I think that's in and of itself a job well done by the movie.
Yeah, it's for me. I just kind of like him. I must say, like I've seen them. I've seen them all. I think them. When you watch the other ones, I think the Riddick story ties in quite well. Like the third one, Riddick, is kind of a rip-off for this, but it's like, here is another 100 million. Now, Sandy, if you could look, I wonder what the budget it was for Chronicles of Riddick, because that's the next one.
And that was only a few years later, if I recall.
And this is what this movie,
Stand
like
by.
you said,
I am looking. Stand
so
by.
in one thing I'd like to point out, because
like, you think even like a $26 million budget in 2000. So let's say post-production is 98.
That's more than I thought it would have gotten. Honestly.
Yeah, like that's poor for a sci-fi thing. Now, okay, you're not going through things. Now, I wonder if it got pulled, like, or it was, you know, because it was Australian funded. Like most of it is probably filmed in the Northern Territory, so it's going to be like the heat there must have been awful. To be like that. So you go by that, but then, like, as Jay said, your nostalgia goes in, because like this is a period where you've got really low budget but good sci-fi series coming out. Like, I remember, like, Lex is a good one for example, where this, like, it's just bad. Everything's bad. You've got like Like probably the best one is like Farscape. I've said that before because it was like, you know, Australian done, but the practical's good in it. The rest of it's not good. And this is what this felt, you know, what I, you know, when you go into it, it's missing 20 million. It is literally missing 20 million to make it. That makes sense. And I said, like, where they've been clever and then they've just seemed to have stalled it like that. So I think the movie's like, there's a bit of a slow pacing after the crash to the actual finding of the creatures. I think there's a bit too much slow pacing. For me, it's probably for about 5.5 or 6 because it's not great, but it intrigues me. It intrigued me to go back and watch it again just because of the Riddick character, and then how that became a thing is amazing. Now I just see Sandy's up there of 120 million for Chronicles. How did that happen? If you actually just take this standalone,
the success. I mean, it obviously. I think by those numbers, it made a few
4
bucks,
years.
right? If I was looking at that right, like it made enough of a profit. But to get an extra $100 million investment profit, that's shocking.
That is mad. Now I wonder,
but get this, Chronicles didn't make money either.
No, it was.
Really?
I would say that is.
It only made 150, so it didn't make its total budget back.
Visually, it's better looking. It's all that. Story wise, this has got a better story.
Interesting.
And then they just completely ripped it off with the next one. They tried to do too much of his, like, everybody's like, oh, sometimes you need a backstory. Sometimes the anti-hero doesn't need that deep a backstory, and I think they did.
Yeah, sometimes that's what helps the anti-hero concept, not having.
So,
like Sugar in No Country for Old Men. It's probably one of the, because of reading the book, and thank you again, Jay, you know, for recommending that film, because I wouldn't have read the book, I wouldn't have watched the movie again. And I think that's one of those characters, oh my God, you want so bad to know why he is the way he is, but you're never going to know. And that's okay. And you're right, when you don't have all that backstory, because when you do, and I think the modern tendency is the more backstory you give, then you're leaning too far into making them overly sympathetic.
Yep.
And that kills it, right? That just absolutely kills it. Whereas in Harry Potter, the backstory to Severus Snape is so important. You could have had the story where at the end you found out, sorry, spoilers, gang, that he's a really, really good guy, but you also had to know that he was a jerk, but you also had to know that he was being bullied. Like, you had to know everything else about Snape. But here, I don't need to know Riddick's backstory, and I definitely didn't need to know Sugar, but I wanted to. I think it's an interesting, it's the mark of a well-written story if you want to know the backstory. But there's a danger then in actually getting what you want.
Yeah. Especially with anti-heroes.
Right. And the thing with a character like Snape specifically, it's also, you know, not only is it important that you know all the things you know about him, it's important that the time in which you find out his backstory is very important as well.
Because Harry needs to know the backstory.
Right,
not just because you as the reader need it. He needs to know it,
and he needs to know it at that exact point. So, like, there's times when you do get that backstory, or maybe if you weren't expecting it, or maybe if you may have thought you didn't need it or want it, there's times where you do get it, and it's done so, it's placed so specifically in the line of storytelling that it's just like cherry on top of, like, oh my God, that was brilliant. And that for me was one of those, both reading it in the book as well as seeing it on screen. But yeah, for a lot of characters, you don't always need that. So sometimes it's going to differ character to character. I'll have to see Chronicles of Riddick to see how they do it with his character. But yeah, a little bit of over kind of explaining, or like you said, over sympathizing, or what leads to over sympathizing can kind of ruin that character a bit.
Yeah. But I wonder, like, things. I wonder if, like, what was between this 2000 and 2004, what was released by Vin Diesel that would have given him the pull of, I like this character, because he must have had to be him going,
Fast
I
and
want to
Furious.
do this.
Yeah,
was it?
He probably got a little bit of that reign of, like, studio, what do you want to make? Well, asking him what do you want to make, and he's like, I'd like to go back to Riddick. And they probably looked back and said, maybe we can do something with this.
Yeah,
But yeah, because he
'cause
would have
they-
been in Fast and Furious. He would have done Triple X at that point.
It's weird because
He
like you
did.
actually think
Fast and
he's not.
Furious was the next year. It was
Mhm.
Yeah, but
2001.
Yeah, but he wasn't like signed up because he didn't do was it Too Fast?
He
Too
didn't do
Furious?
Too Fast, no.
He wasn't then in Tokyo Drift, and then he came back. What would be the fourth movie? So
Mhm.
what was? Yeah, it's like it's very
He
weird. that he
did
would have had
A Man of Pie.
movie.
I can't remember if A Man of Pie did well, but I know it was kind of a pretty strong, I thought at least
Yeah.
strong, like positive. It wasn't a great movie, but I think it had some
It
positive
was
feelings. Like
Triple
once
X
it got to
that
the
got in the
yeah,
way.
that one
Was
kind
it
of
So
really.
that's-
Triple X?
It
Right,
says
okay.
here, so after Riddick, then he was filming The Fast and the Furious in 2001, then Triple X in 2002, right away.
And A Man
But-
of Pie would have been like 2003.
But them
I
two
think.
would have been them
Probably.
two would have done really well at the box office. They would have
Right.
made money, both of them movies.
Oh, those two definitely did.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah,
just
yeah.
catapulted him.
So they must have looked at him and gone, we want you on the books, but if you needed to do one thing, and he was like, I want to revisit. Yeah, he must have loved the character. You know,
Well, and
like
in
that.
fairness, they
Yeah.
probably figured too. Oh man,
Yeah.
he like the first with him being such a more popular star this
Mhm.
time, doing it again. Bringing back this character could have more success, franchise, blah 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 blah. So I'm sure it was kind of a thing on both sides where might have been a character he wanted, and they might have looked at it as, shoot, that could be a whole new franchise for us. Why not?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like I know it's released in 2000, but it's a 90s sci-fi. It is a 90s sci-fi. It's before the digital age. It feels that it's been shot like that. Yeah, you've got you look at some other 90s things. You can feel it.
When you watch it, you can almost hear the trailer for it with the old like in a world where darkness is your enemy, and it just reeks of that, and I love it. I love it for that.
Yeah, it does. It is. I like it. Maybe it's a guy movie because, like I say, Sandy, you didn't like it. Maybe it is more.
Yeah,
of like,
I think it is a guy movie.
Maybe
that's
it is.
okay.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to correct, because I said it earlier, and I've done this with these two actors my entire life. I always confuse Josh Lucas with Cole Hauser, and I don't know why I do that, but I've done that my entire life. And they happen to kind of be big in these early 2000s area too. So this was Cole Hauser was the guy playing the bad guy. God, I can't remember his name, Johns or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Not Josh Lucas, who I said at the beginning of the show.
Cool. All right. So, well, I think like that. I think our scorings are like, yeah, I've probably seen it probably more, and I think I do like my cheesy sci-fi. But yeah, I think
And
we're like
that's
all in the
okay.
same. But it is. But let's say,
Like
but
its
it
own
is. We got
genre.
the- But
Like
it is
you
the
got
same.
your good sci-fi, then your cheesy sci-fi.
Yeah, but this is the ones you can't like. Guaranteed, there's always sci-fi shows that, like I said, I'm going to bring it up again. Lex, I like it. It's terrible. I like it, and that's the thing is like you get those ones. And this one isn't. It's fun. It's like I think me like Jade. I like the fun ride. It's just a fun ride like that. Yeah, you carry on, and if it like popped on and the last like 20 minutes come on, you probably sit down and watch the full like the 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones you probably
fair.
wouldn't pick out. You wouldn't get like, oh, I'm going to watch that today. That's my schedule. It's not one of those ones. I think you go back, but if you was flicking past, you'd be like, this guy's going to get his head eaten in a minute. It's like that. It's one of those ones. I think, kind of, but at least it was a bit. I suppose it was a good one to break up the film club because we've got a hard hitter next. We have got a hard.
What is next? Oh, Platoon. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. We have, as the wheel does. Keith David is in Platoon, so we've got a connection. I couldn't find a connection between this thing. I tried. So we've got the Platoon. I've started watching documentaries. I started reading one of my books as well on the Vietnam. This one. Let me just grab it. An really old one about the. It's like a visualization one, so that's there.
Oh, nice. What's it called?
It's just called the Vietnam War.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Done.
What's it about?
yeah, exactly. So that one, I think that one goes from Indochina into the first 10 years. Through the first parts of the Indochina 10 years, and then into the Vietnam War and the beginning of the American involvement into that. But we've got that. I've watched the documentary, the Brothers in Arms ones. What have you two watched that yet?
No,
I have
I'm going to
not,
watch
no.
it when I'm done the
It's
PDF
actually
one.
quite interesting. It's done by one of the characters. Sorry, one of the actors who done it. They don't get Oliver Stone or Forrest Whitaker. They're the only two people that are not in the documentary. Reasons why. There's probably reasons Oliver Stone wasn't in it. It comes across a bit of an arse. Let's beat that.
Yeah.
Let's go. But that would be a discussion for the movie. But yeah, this is for the Vietnam movie. I think it had a lot of impact at the time. We'll talk about it. But I don't think it's the most grittiest one you could get out there from the American view, I suppose, like that. I think there are some really.
I think Full Metal.
yeah,
I'm just gonna say it now, but
it's the better
for me,
movie.
Full Metal Jacket is the better movie. I
Yeah.
even like that better than Apocalypse Now.
Mm.
I have a love-hate with Good Morning Vietnam, because there's a goofiness, obviously, not just about the Robin Williams, but then also the reason I have a love and hate is because there's a goofiness to MASH, but it's also endearing too. So, and I think Good Morning Vietnam brought more people to learn about the Vietnam conflict who would not otherwise have, who were not into history, but for they went to see a Robin Williams movie. So I do appreciate it for that reason. And I'll save all the rest of my commentary for when we talk about the film. But then you've also got The Deer Hunter and Casualties of War, I think, is Vietnam, right? And then
Casual Hamburger Hill is probably the most graphic.
then
That's a really thing.
the one I
Then you
really
got
hate is Born on the 4th of July. I really hate Born on the 4th of July. I'm sorry.
yeah, but it's about the vets, isn't it? It's about
It
it's
is.
not about the things. You got We Were Soldiers. What's on the list? Completely different point of view.
Oh
like
yeah.
That's a very good one because it actually shows you armies against army instead of the Viet Cong, as you guys call it.
And
Against
Uncommon
guerrilla
Valor.
warfare.
I like Uncommon Valor.
Yeah, so there are. Yeah, I think it was like that. You had a period, didn't you? Like literally, they all
and the Deer
the directors, the
Hunter.
producers, all came out like after probably. You had your two. Yeah, you had Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now, but then you had a break. But then the people who been in the war then became producers, directors, and were like, yeah let's get it on. So. It became like that. Jay, you've seen it, haven't you? Definitely, you've seen.
So this might as well serve as my first real watch of it.
Okay.
It's one that I've seen pieces of, and I thought I remembered more of until I started looking at it after it came up on the wheel last week. It's one that used to be on TV a lot growing up, but as a kid, I never really got too much into the war movies, but I remember seeing parts of it. I'll be honest, for a long portion of my life, I kept confusing it with the movie Hot Shots. The other one Charlie Sheen does. So this might as well serve as a first viewing because it'll be the first time I really sit down and watch it.
I've never confused them,
especially as an adult.
Yeah.
I just I met because as a kid, I'm like, wasn't this like a goofy war movie? Because I remember him being in Hot Shots and seeing some of that on TV too. And
that's brilliant.
So for way too long, I've confused memories of
probably
so this will be
the
good
Hot
to watch.
Shots was like Top Gun, and you had Tom Cruise in Born on the 4th of July, so it probably all got all mixed up.
There was a lot. There was just a lot of war stuff. I feel like you were just saying at this point in time in Hollywood. Even I was watching the other day. Forrest Gump, and I forgot there was such a big war portion of that in Forrest Gump and Vietnam and all that. So this was just kind of like, and when I was a kid growing up, these movies were just like one after the other, so they tended to blur, even the ones with significantly different tones, like Hot Shots and Platoon.
Yeah, we had that Jenny. They're sending me to Vietnam.
Oh my god! Can I just say, Jenny is one of the worst characters in movie history. She is an awful person.
Nobody likes her.
She might as well be a villain. She is an awful person.
No, I don't think Forrest Gump's on our list. Good music.
I hope not.
Oh, really? I like Forrest Gump quite a bit. I don't know its historical accuracy.
I think it is.
So I don't know that.
But I think it is because I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Tom Hanks, he did,
that was
Philadelphia, and then Forrest Gump before he won back-to-back, didn't he, with Philadelphia and
Castaway shortly after. I mean, that was when he was just, every movie was gold.
Yeah. Put his name on, bang, win. But even now he does, he's
Go back to Bosom Buddies. I keep telling you all, don't forget, look for Tom Hanks in his first role. Talk about goofy.
Was it Bachelors? The Bachelor?
That was a film, but Bosom Buddies was the television show.
Okay.
That was his first.
Yeah.
with Peter Scolari. Yeah, he
I want to
dressed like a
say
woman to live.
Turner and Hooch or Big
Oh,
were
then
probably the first two things I'd ever
Mhm.
seen from him
Money
in his
Pit.
early
Yeah, it's
career.
brilliant. Money Pit. Oh, yeah. I like Money Pit. It's one of those ones.
Splash.
It's terrible, but yeah. Splash, yeah. Come on, can we go Tom Hanks? Now, Jade likes Tom Hanks to be nice, so she'll have a go at you.
I like that era of Tom Hanks. I'm not a huge fan of his stuff now, but that
No,
Tom
stuff he
Hanks,
does.
I
Tom
like
Hanks, I
Apollo
liked all his
13.
movies.
You
Yeah,
know we're going
Apollo
to go through
13.
how many we
Oh,
have
yeah.
That was
on
what I
our
was
gonna
list
have,
with Tom Hanks. There's going to be a
somehow
lot.
we always talk about Tom Hanks' golden
We
age.
do.
There we go. Well, maybe I've just brought it up. Maybe
Oh, there we
it will
go.
be a Tom Hanks one. So
Oh, I know,
that's it.
and I know exactly what I'm hoping for this week. I've been thinking about
What's
it all
that?
week. So this week, I am hoping the movie Moneyball comes up because the
Okay.
MLB season has just started this past week.
How about
My
those
beloved
Orioles,
Red
hon?
Sox. Oh, I know you.
12-2.
You words I can't use on YouTube right now. You Orioles.
Why? What
Oh.
happened? Go on,
They're
quickly.
division rivals. They look great. They could win the pennant this year. And
Yeah, but we
Okay.
could win the
Yeah.
pennant every year. We
True,
just blow it.
true.
We blow it.
no,
Yeah.
that is the only team I think Sandy and I have that would be rivals. I think the rest of our teams we don't really have much rivalry with. So Orioles and Sox are in the same division for those who don't know. So
Well, I don't know. I'm a Montreal. You're Bruin, so that's the only thing.
well,
we've got.
yeah, fair enough. We've
Yeah.
got that one. We've got Montreal,
Yeah.
and your guys are actually going to make the playoffs, and we're headed for a rebuild.
Possibly.
So.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
You literally. I
good
don't
on
know.
you
Like,
guys.
you guys literally like, yeah, you got rid of your coach, and he's just like, what is happening? There are things, and then
Yeah.
We
the
play on
Washington
Monday
Capitals
today.
have just got. Yeah, I
Well,
wonder
do
who's
we
going to
already
win
have
it this year.
we already have a series with you guys?
Yeah, you're
Nice.
gonna. It's gonna be our home game. It starts Monday with
Okay.
with you
Well,
guys. So
you know, I love you, Sandy, but when it's Sox versus
305.
Orioles, we're enemies.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
But yeah,
for
so in
the
honor of my
Europeans,
beloved
it's got-
Red Sox.
Sorry, for the Europeans, that's rounders. Just what
Yeah.
they're talking about.
But in honor of the MLB and my beloved Red Sox, who also get a little shout out at the end of that movie, I'm hoping for Moneyball this
I
week.
mean, I wouldn't say like I just watched that draft day, and because it's the Cleveland Browns, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
do say about the Baltimore in that, so
Mhm.
they say they have a go at them for when
Yeah,
they
they became the
when they
Ravens.
won. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and then you won the Super Bowl,
And we won the Super Bowl twice now.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah,
Twice
I was like, oh look, I know somebody supports them.
Your
Oh,
son
now you
has
know
the
two people.
attire.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got the
now you know two
jerseys. He
people.
does. Yeah,
Your
there
son
you go.
has the attire, the proper attire.
does.
And
He
Applesauce
likes it.
has the Orioles shirt, which I hope he was proudly wearing
Oh,
on
there you go.
Thursday because we
Yeah,
were off.
they're going to be good
There
this
you
year. They're up for the
Mhm.
pennant just as much as anybody else, at least.
So
As much as it
somebody else
pains
will
me to say it, but the Yankees should be kind of sucky. So I'm always
bring
happy
one-
with that.
I won't bring one for baby nerd takes. We'll have to let's see which sport do we have here. Oh, we'll have to do like can't do hockey, can't do what sport do you not have up there? Lacrosse.
Gotta
We'll
be-
get you
gotta
Oh
be
yeah,
Gotta be
lacrosse isn't
football.
really big. Yeah,
University
you
of
could do that.
Maryland lacrosse gear. There you
Do
go.
you
Is there
guys-
a
is there
New
an
England
MLS
football team?
Yeah, we've got the New England Revolution for the MLS. Is there
Okay.
an MLS team in Baltimore? I don't think
It's
so.
no, but the college, like this is the home, this is
Oh,
the
yeah,
epicenter
yeah,
of college
true.
lacrosse. It's the biggest
True.
like college sport with Johns Hopkins and
Mm-hmm.
Maryland and all of our sports here. But you've got all the other sports we have here.
But you got
Baby
the
Nerd
actual.
Takes is not allowed to wear any Baltimore Orioles stuff. I might let
Hey,
a Ravens
you-
thing
you could
slide,
be
'cause I
nice
don't have too
because
much of a rivalry with them.
The World Cup's coming to you guys,
sure
soon, isn't it?
is.
So then
It
you
sure
could
is.
have the US top.
Yeah, there
you
you
might
go.
actually
Yeah, we'll
you
have
might
to see
actually
how
be
that
good
works
by the
out.
time
No,
it gets
we
the.
won't. We might not be in the world. We won't make it in the World Cup. I
come
have a
No,
feeling.
you automatically get in. So
How
if you're home.
embarrassing will that be?
EU.
Oh yeah, that's right. The home.
Oh, is it automatic?
country
Oh,
does
good.
it.
Yeah, automatic.
We probably won't make it out of the group stages.
So,
No.
Oh my
Oh,
god, yeah.
my word.
We'll
Yeah,
probably
when-
be the hottest
You
group.
know when it's bad, when Canada become a better, as you
Oh,
guys
for
say, soccer
sure.
team. That's when it's bad.
We had a
Like,
little spurt too, where like it looked like we were up on the rise. Pulisic was kind
Yeah.
of leading the team, and it looked like wow, America might actually make it
They
out of
should
group
do.
play. And then just
It
went
did.
backwards. We missed the last World Cup in a total embarrassment.
Well, it's mad because I remember when you had a player called Freddie Adu, and he was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
next,
yeah.
gonna be the
Freddie
next Messi.
supposed to be the next great
17-year-old.
thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
And
he got
literally-
signed as like a
and-
14-year-old to
Yeah.
pro club. I can't remember.
And literally, he just literally got into the, I suppose, I'm bigger than the
the
sport.
celebrity of
money,
it all.
yeah,
and it just
celebrity
never
all.
panned out.
And it went, but like, how the hell, like, hey, just because of the size of your nation, you should be
I don't
one
get
of
it,
the
Spaces. We
You
just
should
like,
be
how
like
are we not
top
producing
10,
just
top
raw
10.
athletes who you can make figure out how to play soccer
Yeah.
at a better level? Like,
And
I
it's
don't
bad
get
because
it.
like, and you got not being rude, but if you actually look at the broadcasting, every broadcaster must be like, please, America, get into football, because
Oh,
if it
yeah.
does,
I would love to see it.
literally, you're in.
2 words.
They're in the money. They're in the money.
Mhm.
They're in the money. Like the
I'd love to see
advertising.
it at a
2
nap.
words.
Mhm.
Low scoring. That is why. Low scoring games.
Yeah. I mean,
People
but
won't
hockey does all right.
imagine-
I mean, hockey does well here in certain regions,
But
not
action.
every, but
Yeah, but you don't
Action.
get 0-0. You don't get a 0-0.
yeah.
Yeah. You
You
get
You're
got
right.
shootout.
It is contact
And you
still,
get
Sandy.
shootout,
That's
and
a
you
good
get
point. You are
you
right.
get some fights too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always loved football, soccer, whatever country you want to say it from. I've always loved it my whole life. Always been a fan. So I would love to see the day it's better here in America at a national level and in terms of, Team America, but just from the professional league in America. Like, I'd love to see the MLS just be a more competitive, fun
Yeah.
product to watch.
It's
It'll
a
never
Mickey
be
Mouse
the
League. It's a
EPL.
Mickey
Yeah,
Mouse
like,
League at the moment.
it'll never be
It's
the
like the Saudi
EPL,
League.
It'll never be
Nobody.
Bundesliga, but give me something respectable that I can actually sit down and watch and enjoy New England Revolution and actually get invested in them. Because right now it's Mickey Mouse League. It's a joke. Every so often a big name comes over like Messi to collect some cash, or Zlatan a few
Wayne
years ago with the
Rooney.
Galaxy, Wayne Rooney.
Down here with DC United.
They every so often they'll come over, take a bag of cash, and head back over to a real league. But I'd love to see it be better. I really would. And how we haven't produced better soccer or football players in that regard as a
because you
country
got probably
is
like
beyond me.
free playing abroad, like really in
Yeah,
European
Pulisic.
League.
God, I don't even know who else at this point. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, but yeah,
Now,
it used
did
to
you
be
have
fighting.
indoor soccer, Jay? Like, because the Baltimore Blast, we were always at the top for 25 years. It was us or the San Diego Sockers. It was like there were like 20 teams. There was the Wichita Wings, there was the Kansas City something. I used to go to all those indoor games when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't think we had an indoor. I believe we had a women's team. I want to say it was like the Boston Breakers or something. Maybe that was women's lacrosse. I can't remember.
I can't remember a Boston team. I can't, but it
for
was
indoor, I can't. But yeah, but we have had an MLS team, the New England Revolution. The Crafts, the owner of the Patriots, owns them.
Yeah, it was
So
fun
what
because it was kind of like a hockey game in terms of like all the music and the light show, and it was very fast paced. And they would compared to outdoor soccer, the scores would be like 13-20.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure.
really high scoring. And kids played, like my daughter played indoor. She played outdoor and indoor, but it was just to carry over into the
winter season. Yeah, we did the same. Yeah.
Well, that did happen when that was it the American women's football team played the retired over 50s of
Wrexham. Oh my God, that was brilliant. That was
13-0, I think, wasn't it? It's like, oh my, that's so embarrassing.
Funny. Just the cockiness of the American women.
Yeah,
we're gonna beat you guys so bad, Bob. And
as
then
always.
Those retired guys just
what it was.
Did you see drop 12 on them?
I can't remember what it was. It was like the under 8s or not under 8s, like under 12s or something beat the American.
Yeah, it was like I think it was a 15 and
basketball team. Yeah, there was a basketball team too. Like a team of 15-year-olds beat a WNBA team.
Yeah, they did it for soccer as well. It was the American national women's team versus like high school 15-year-old and under boys, I guess.
They beat him 6-0 or something,
and
they
just whooped them, and it was like
I always think most of the time I think it's because the skill base is different, the strength is different, but I think it's the keepers because the men's
it's definitely gonna hold you
don't get him.
The wingspan, but it's also, I think people don't realize how explosive and athletic goalies are, because you're going from standing still to lunging full body, laying out to save something in the corners. Like that explosion and that athletic ability is something that I think is super underrated when it comes to keepers. And
I agree.
Yeah, you're just not going to have the same abilities there. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. So what we're hoping for is a sports movie.
Moneyball. Fingers crossed for Moneyball.
You guarantee it's not. It's not going to be now. Anyway,
Moneyball would be great.
Wait, did we have Major League on here? I would accept Major League as well. I can't
did we put Major League on here?
I know we talked about it.
I don't think we put it on. We put Sandlot on. I know we did that.
Oh, Sandlot too. Okay, I would accept Sandlot. Anything baseball related, I would take today.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Not Field of Dreams.
I don't think that's on here, is it?
I don't think it made it on.
Yeah, somebody put it on there.
Oh, is it? It was not me.
James. Yeah,
No,
wasn't
wouldn't it
me.
be me? I don't like the movie.
Oh well, maybe then it's
I
not on
didn't.
there. If it's
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
if you
It's
did,
probably on
'cause
there.
I
Did it
didn't.
get? Yeah. Did it get snuck on? I don't like it.
Highlander must have snuck it on there.
Yeah. Well,
Highlander. That's
if
what it
Braveheart
is.
comes on, he's hacked it.
Telling you.
Snapshot. Hey, that Snapshot must be on here. Slapshot. That must be.
Probably is.
That's
We're coming
hockey,
up
that's
on
hockey,
hockey
so, yeah.
playoffs soon, though. So
There you
that
go.
could come at
Anyway.
the
We
right
got Space Jam. Yeah, we're gonna have
time.
Space
Oh,
Jam.
yeah.
NBA
Space Jam,
playoffs
there you
coming
go.
up as well.
All right, let's do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Woo-hoo.
Woo. The silence.
This is where I lean toward the screen.
Come on, Moneyball.
Oh, it's green. It's green. Oh, okay.
Oh
Come on.
goodness.
Oh, we've got a
Doesn't sound like a
historical one.
baseball
The
movie.
one that you told me I needed to watch that I hadn't watched yet. You told me to watch this film months ago
ages
when
ago.
when we did one of your recommendation. Maybe it was biography. Didn't you put Cromwell on for biography?
Yeah, it must have put his biography. Yeah, it must have been.
And I said I was
maybe-
going to watch it, and I still haven't watched it. So I need to watch it.
So, yeah. So we're going back to the
Old
English
school.
Civil War. We're going Oliver
The
Cromwell.
other Civil War.
The other Civil War. So we're going to historical. It's quite epic. But it does have Sir Alec Guinness in it.
It does, yes.
Yay!
Yes.
And a couple of drunks.
Richard,
as
have
well.
we done anything with Richard Harris yet? I could have sworn we had.
No, we did speak about him the other day, and I can't remember the last time.
Maybe
Why did
that's
we-
what I'm thinking of. Obviously,
No.
No, because we would know. Oh, was it because he was part? Oh, who was it in the last movie? What did we watch last? What was the last movie? Oh my god, what was the
The
last one?
Sting.
the
The
Sting.
Sting.
Yes.
Oh, who was in the? No, it wasn't that then. Who was the we?
I
'cause
could
we were
have
saying,
sworn we
you know-
talked about Richard Harris recently.
Yeah, we were talking about Rich Harris because of like Oliver Stone, all the drunks and all that.
Oh, we were talking. Oh, why were we talking about Pete? It was with was it with Monty Python? Because we were talking about
Yes,
Peter Sellers and Peter Cook
Chapman.
and
Yeah, because and all that. Yes, they will.
Dudley
they were
Moore.
heavy drinkers.
Okay, so
Dudley
it might have
Moore,
been when
yeah.
I was listening to the
There you go.
Monty
That's
Python
why.
stream then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like,
But
I know
yeah.
we were just talking
yeah,
about
we were
it.
talking about all the drugs. Yes, we were.
Yes, but yeah, this
Peter
is
O'Toole, all the Peters, Peter Cook,
Yep.
Peter O'Toole. They were all Peter Sellers. That was them. Mhm.
But yeah, this one, so we've got a very historical. How good is your English Civil War, you two?
I wasn't aware that you guys had one, so you can start there.
as always, if you it seems like I've always got a book near.
So, Jay, the short of it is
That's
the English people got
Charles
sick of
first.
they got sick of Charles I, so they lopped his head off. They put this guy Cromwell in play, who didn't do many favors for the Irish. We'll just put it that way. And then the British people decided, you know what, we were kind of better off with a king. So then they brought his James II, right? Charles the
Charles
Charles
II.
the First, Charles II. Then
Yep.
So Charles II came in, and then we have it. Wouldn't it be fun if we had the film Restoration after? Is Restoration on our list with the
I'm
great
not sure.
Sam Neill? Because Restoration is about the restoration of the monarchy after. No, we don't have Restoration on the wheel. But
That's
then
it.
Charles II restores the monarchy, and then they go on from there to this very day with Charles the Third.
Interesting.
How that's actually kind of appropriate that now we have Charles the
Charles
Third.
III. Yes.
Mhm.
But yeah, this one, I like the movie. I don't like the history of it. That is a good way to put it. So yeah, it's a bit ropey because you've got other players onto it, but the acting in it, you have, we just said just name two. That it's very, it's kind of like, when was this done? Like in the 70s? It's got to be early 70s,
Let's
isn't it?
see. What do we
I think
say?
70. I think I just saw.
Is it bang on
You
70?
have
It's one of those Hollywood.
1970. Mhm.
There you go. So this is one of those, like when they made it epic, everything's going to be epic, or things like that with some great acting ability and all that. So again, oh my god, I've just hit two in a row then of
And not the
movies
book. Okay.
you have it. Well,
But I
What,
will be
history?
reading some history. I will be
There's
reading
a lot
lots of history.
Yeah. Yeah, so
The
was it
Roundheads and the Cavaliers, right? That's the
1642 to
factions.
1651. And you weren't even a nation as it is now. There you go.
Well,
As it is
Maryland.
now.
Oh, yeah, Maryland was founded in 1634. So yeah,
Yeah.
we just, the colonies were starting to sprout
Yeah.
at that
There
point
you
in
go.
time. Just
So, yeah.
starting to sprout.
But everybody forgets this isn't the only English Civil War. There are multiples, of course, but this is the biggest, I suppose, like that. You had little spurts all over the place, but this is the biggest. I suppose you even call it the War of Roses, would be classed as a civil war, but it's not
definitely.
for some reason. We must have War of Roses, a War of Roses film, not War of the Roses.
Not War of the Roses.
Not that movie.
No, that's a terrible film.
No, but yeah. So yeah, I think you two are going to like this. I think this is going to be.
We have Henry
Yeah,
V. The beginning.
yes.
It's not technically the War of the Roses, but it's the last Plantagenet, right? So yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very strong how it's acted. It's very 70s. It feels like Hollywood 70s. Although even though it's very of course a British movie with all the actors, it's got very it's some of the stage actors in it are just class in it. You realize at this era, I think between this and you got like that 60s, like probably mid 70s of where them British actors came over and we're like, they're bloody good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like going back to like Zulu and we need more of this. This is going to be one of those films that, wow, it's really cool. Why can't we make these anymore?
It's when they do some of them, when they're just, it's one person and they, when they deliver that line, like there's what is the most modern one is probably Churchill with,
the what is it?
What's his, oh my God,
Gathering Storm, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, when he delivers that line in the at Westminster. That one, is epic, and you're like, how did they remember all the lines? But they even, delivered all in one. This is that kind of movie where you're like, that's some ability, that is. And it's it's a very poignant, like showing, the parliamentarians, the Roundheads, later on, and of course the royalists, things, and how it all things. Boy,
AWOL just put a comment about Blackadder. We watch Blackadder? We do need to do a special on Blackadder. I think we need to add that to the list of potential specials to really just
to find out Charles II in that.
or Queenie. No, but Blackadder. Just there's so much to appreciate, and to your credit, you Brits, your British acting and the combination of the reason why you have amazing stage actors who can also pull off comedy is because good comedy is rooted in wit, not gags. And that's why, it works. And that's why Blackadder works on so many levels. It's hilariously stupid, funny, slapstick, but man, it is so well written. And the core story, especially in the last one, the core story just hits you in the feels, and it's no longer funny anymore. We need a special on that. Yes.
Have you seen Blackadder go forth, Jay?
No. War movies or historical movies in general, I guess.
It's a series. It's a comedy series.
Comedy series.
I assumed this was a historical movie.
No, it's a comedy series. It goes through. Oh, I can't remember the
starts with the Black Death, right?
The Black Plague, and then it goes.
Then
it is Elizabeth, then Charles II, then George III, isn't it?
The fourth, fourth regent, the Prince Regent, and then
Regent.
Interesting.
And then World War One.
World War One, and the ending. Oh, the ending is probably one of the. It has to be in the top 5 best endings of a TV series of all time. because
100%.
it's so dramatic, and you're like, oh, because it's so comedic and so slapstick, and so but it's in a setting of the First World War in the trenches, and then to have the ending, I won't spoil it. It's worth the watch, even if
It'll
you don't
make
go
you
back
cry.
and so
It'll
like,
like I cry like a baby. I've seen it 100 times. And then to your
yeah, you
point, when I
can't,
saw the making of, and just like you were describing how they filmed it in a specific way, and it was just, I think Hugh Laurie described it as, you're showing it's a comedy because you have to convey the absolute absurdity of man killing man in war, because it is absurd. And it had to end the way it ended because that's the way that particular part of the war ended. But um it's like they use comedy to convey such sympathy, empathy, personal feeling for what happened to soldiers during the war. And it was the absurdity of knowing that the people on the front lines were the out of work, unemployed, lowest of society, and all the officers were not in total, because many officers were killed too, of course, but most of the officers who were of the class, the upper class, they could position themselves in one scene. The Stephen Fry character, who's the upper class guy, Melchett, says to Blackadder and Baldrick, "Go forth. We'll be right behind you." And Blackadder says, "Yeah, 40 miles behind us." And it's delivered in a funny way.
You ready, darling?
But that's when, for me, that's when that episode turns, when he says, yeah, 40 miles behind us. In other words, we're just going to be slaughtered tomorrow morning. We're going over the top, and that's it. So anyway, not to get too far. Yeah, we need a special on it. It's so
Yeah,
good.
we're going in. That's a lot to watch though if you went through the whole series, but I would say
pick a war.
Yeah, pick one of them. But I would say pick fourth. I do like that one.
I think 2 and 4. I liked series 2 and series 4.
Oh.
Series 1's hard to get through, but you can see what they were
Yeah,
trying
but then
to
you
do.
got some great ones with the turnip.
Oh my God,
Like-
Baldrick. It's just anyway, we could go on it. Yeah, we need
How
a
did you
special.
make this coffee? Mud, spit, and some but how did you make the foam? Oh, that's they're great. But yeah, we're gonna go a bit more serious. We kind of got
we got Platoon.
we've got Platoon. That is a serious shot movie, and then a serious story, but done in a very actor's way. So two one swings like that. Now, Jay, you've got to get a movie on there. You haven't had one for a while.
I know. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking that when this one came up, that it has been a while since I've had one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe next week.
You've gone dry. You've had a bit of a dry. You had a bit of a dry.
It is. It has not been coming up for me lately. So we'll see.
No. Yeah, but it's been good to see. We got some good ones. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Oh my God, I got two. I hate saying this, but me and Sandy, we got two historical ones, like periods of time. So we're going to be, that's it. So
we're going to be yammering on.
Are you telling me I can take the next couple of weeks off here?
You might do, yeah.
No, we'll be asking you quiz questions.
Yeah. Did you? If you've got time, I know you're really busy. If you can set aside probably the first 3 episodes of that PBS special. The Vietnam War, it's one of the better ones out there. It is really good. I was geeky. I do like the Indochina history past the Second War into the Vietnam War as it is. I think that period is really interesting. But yeah, Civil War, there's a lot going on in the English Civil War. There's too many players, so I would. If you want to watch a documentary, watch a documentary. If you want to go read a book, you'd be there for a while because there's too many players. That's it. But it's gone. Yeah, again, the wheel gives out the wheel. So we gone history. We have to find if we can find a connection between Platoon and this one. I don't think we will for the Cromwell.
I'm sure we will.
There you go. But look at how many months.
But it
after,
won't be
Sandy,
Keith David.
after I recommended it to you. and said, you got to watch it. So now I'm making you watch it.
That's awesome. Been
There
on
we
my
go.
list. I
That's
have all
good.
my lists and my lists of lists here.
There you go.
So,
So yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. So yeah, I just remember it being an epic. So yeah, it's on there. But yeah, everybody in chat, thank you for actually coming along and doing Pitch Black. A bit of a fun. You guys, what you got going on? Except for Sandy, you going out walking, and I got to come and jump in.
no, I got it. Yes, I've been out walking, but all of my other history projects have really taken a back seat. And unfortunately, the weather's just getting better and better. So it's becoming harder and harder to sit down and actually do my research projects. I have a course to teach in June, and I've got a lot of materials to put together for that. But yeah, I'm just out and about, and I really do appreciate when folks do join me on my little walks. And I do get questions about the architecture and the history. So yeah, you just catch me out and about. And James, I'm looking right now for I'm gonna find it here. I want to find the episode on there it is, the episode on biography that we did, so I can post. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh.
So I can post the
Is it in
link.
biography? I'm sure it was in biography, wasn't it?
What else would it have been in though? I think it.
Yeah, history. Did we do? No, we didn't do history.
No,
did
we
Jump over?
saved
No.
that. No, we didn't do it, so it has to be there. Okay, so I'm putting the link here,
Yeah.
so you can watch James's recommendations and my recommendations as well on biography.
Didn't we get the first one? We picked the first same one, didn't we?
We did.
It was our first time doing it, Jay.
Our very first.
And we was like, okay, you pick 10, I pick 10. And our
But don't
first
tell each
movie,
other.
Don't tell each other. The first movie was the same.
Exactly the same film. And it was just unbelievable. And we had another one that was the same, which was Yankee Doodle Dandy. And I was just shocked because it's such an American film. I was real surprised that you selected it. I selected it. So that was like third or fourth on the list. But
yeah, I think there was like 3 or 4 out of the 10. We had the same. We were like,
but our first number one was A Man for All Seasons. And that was Robert Shaw. Okay, so last week we had Robert Shaw in The Sting playing not Lieutenant Stanley. Sorry, who's the bad guy? Brother, why can't I remember his name?
I can't remember his the Irish name. Jay,
go. Guy. The Irish dude. Robert
getting his name wrong, and now we can't get his name right.
Plays Henry VIII in A Man for All Seasons. So yeah, they're all connected.
And he'll be in Jaws as well when we get that on the list.
And he will be Quint in Jaws. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah.
So there's the link in chat.
Yes, that was good. A while ago. Yes, and that spurned on this as well. But Jay, what you got coming on?
No. For me, I have no idea. The channel has been very quiet the past couple of weeks because, as most of you know, I am expecting my first child, which that time will be about 5 or so weeks from now. So things have been ramping up on my end with getting things ready for him to be here. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to do much on YouTube the past couple of weeks. And I don't know that this week looks particularly better, but somewhere soon I'll be able to kind of kick it back into gear with stuff for the channel. So as always, just keep an eye out. You can always catch me here on Saturdays because that's one that I've carved out, time for to make sure that I can make it. But in terms of my videos, reviews, shorts, live streams, the whole deal, it's coming back. I just don't know when yet. So we'll see there.
You want to do like a documentary on the lack of sleep you're about to get?
Oh, yeah. I'm geared up for that. Luckily,
it's literally GoPros on your eyes of like, this is what happens.
This is what it looks like.
And then we had all the greatest ideas of actually one of them things. It's one when you think, you know what, I can sleep now. I'm going to be able to get, and it goes things. But Sandy.
Oh, 18 months. How in the world? How 18 months as a canary?
Yeah. Mad. But we got Davey Verse, Daily Dysfunction, Greg, was it The Beast? And Evie Furry Bunnies.
Evil Fluffy Bunnies.
Yeah, that is great. I like
Okay,
that name.
that's
Oh, back
definitely
again.
from our Monty Python discussion.
Oh, it
with
has
the
to be.
evil
It has
monkey.
to be
Has
Evie.
to be.
Yeah. Oh, look at Davey first. Thank you.
Hey,
very much.
Davey.
Hey, that's a quick
Davey, you
notification. That
changed
was,
your icon. I like
oh
that.
yeah.
I believe, and Davey, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is actually the cover of Davey's book. I'm not sure if it's the one he's already published that's out, or possibly one that he's still
Ah,
working on, but I believe that is the cover of Davey's book. So feel free to
There
check
you
that out,
go.
everybody.
Oh,
And again,
check
correct
that
me if
out.
I'm wrong, Davey. I can't remember if that's the one you're working on or the one you've already published.
Nice. There you go. It is.
And
There you go. It
speaking of
is. There we
publishing
go.
books, Mr. Stasis Geek. When we say, "What are you working on?"
Check in.
Oh, there
Check
we
in and
go.
check in and check in.
Checking it twice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just making sure it feels like that. So there you go, little thing. This is the first. I don't know how many chapters. That's the first 7. Just like I'm just doing that. So that's just that. Just literally making sure everything's there. And but I gave myself a break. I think that was best. I gave myself a week off to kind of fresh myself out and then go back to it, because I think that's like gives you another perspective. But I like it so far, and I've not done hardly any corrections, not adding more. So it's just like, oh, that's wrong. So that's it. Oh, what do you know? It's out. Sorry, it's out 2023.
Perfect.
So it's been out 2 years. There you go. So
Mhm.
that's like cool, excellent. Yeah. So yeah. Apart from that, I'm loving Skyrim at the moment. Still loving Skyrim. I'm gonna try do that Atomfall. I've wanted to do that for a while because it's part of Rebellion.
I saw Az
Rebellion
playing
is
some of that.
yeah, Rebellion is 2000 AD. The people that own that, so gonna support that a little bit. It actually looks quite good. I've not heard bad things from it, except from Dan. Like that when he actually did it with the boat shop,
Which always comes with a grain of salt, of course.
yeah. So yeah, but apart from that, I will play that. I've got a couple of horror ones I want to jump in, but every time I do it, I'm just getting like I'm really enjoying Skyrim again.
I will say the
I'm just
Skyrim
like that.
streams. I always enjoy the horror games as well, but the
Yeah.
Skyrim
Skyrim.
streams have been fun
Yeah.
to watch because that's a game I somehow have never played. I know
it's just-
everybody loves it, and I've somehow never played it.
Yeah.
And this has been my first real actual look at it, so I've been enjoying.
And the worst thing is I'm bypassing the main story. I've literally
Oh,
jumped.
I see. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I'm jumping over the main story and doing one of the guilds.
Mhm.
So this is just a guild story, and
Oh,
it's
no
literally
kidding.
I'm like part 6, and this is what like 10 hours, well, more than over 10 hours in already. I'm just that, and you've got like another you could do like another 6 guilds on it if you wanted to. There's like loads of things, like there's a vampire guild, a werewolf guild, loads of other ones. You can be like a mage. There's so many you can do. But yeah, but on top of that, you do a the Dragonborn is the main quest, it's called. I've just completely ignored it. I've just like, no, I know what it is. I finished that.
Yep.
I want to
Been
do
there,
this because
done
I
that.
never did the full Thieves Guild. I never went that way. So I'm just doing this like stealthy, sneaky quest on that, and I'm just going to give that a go. But yeah, but it's good because I forget I like these kind of games and these like things, because people keep on going, oh, is it Elden Ring, like the early Elden Ring? I'm like, no, but that's you guys like that one, don't you? That's your
No, it's not like Elden
There's
Ring.
a-
I mean,
no,
you
no,
can see
no,
the
no, but
inspiration.
yeah,
But
that's what they said. Oh, this is the first one? I was like, no, it's not. So, but that one that's coming out soon this year, isn't it?
Night Rain.
That's it.
I believe.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is the
somewhat soon.
yeah,
so
and then with co-op playability, but or multiplayer. I'm
well,
such
you
a
have to
huge
teach
Elden
us.
Ring
If I'm
fan.
gonna, there you go. Yeah, but
Yeah,
if I'm on
I'm
it, you
afraid.
might have to like teach us. So there you go.
Well,
Maybe
the weird
So-
thing about it to me, sorry, I was just gonna say the
Okay.
weird thing about it to me is just that it's multiplayer or solo, but it's 1 or 3 are your only options
Yeah,
for
it's
players.
very
So
odd.
I'm just interested to see how they balance the game if it's designed for literally just 1 or 3. Like I don't know. I'm curious on that. How are the
I
boss
bet
fights
you they-
balanced? Are they
Yeah.
3-person based and it feels rough playing as one person? Like I'm interested to see how that works out, because 1 or
I've had
3
it
is
in
just a
game-
weird option.
I've had it in games before. If you're going like 1, the boss
Mhm.
levels and everybody
Yeah,
else is that level,
I'm
and then
assuming
it
right,
goes up.
yeah.
It goes like
Mhm.
you put all 3, then it becomes like ultra hard, and it
Oh,
just gives the level up.
absolutely.
Yeah, but
I'm assuming it's like that, but I'm just curious if they're able to really, like, in terms of the
Yeah.
difficulty, I get it, but the balancing of the way the boss fights work, the way you use the arena, the area around, like, I'm just curious how it feels playing 1 or 3.
Yeah,
I
especially
have
like,
faith
is
in
it-
the FromSoft, pretty like blind faith
They
level
put
of faith
so
in
much
them.
care
So
into their games.
right,
Yeah.
so
Like,
I'm not like
they
concerned. I'm
care.
more curious.
Yeah, because I wonder if you have like, let's say, 3 of your mates want to play, all 3 of you jump in,
Mhm.
then one can't do it for a week, and you still want to keep playing. Then
Yeah.
can you drop down to 2,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that's a good
it
question.
changes it? Yeah,
I don't know. And that
or because
like
it's open world, and then like if you complete, oh, we just completed such and such boss, we have to do it again because you didn't do
Right, to
it.
get you to get you
Mm.
right, like a quest type of like a World of
Yeah,
Warcraft
yeah.
type of situation. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm this is what I mean. I'm very curious of how it's going to work. I have total faith in, honestly, at this point, total blind faith in FromSoft as a company of game developers. This is just very different, very out of the normal
Yeah.
for them. So I'm curious to see how it works.
I
Yeah.
feel like the multiplayer games work where you have things that you can each do, like building, resource management, that sort of thing, which is
Mhm.
not at all part of Elden Ring.
Right,
There is
no.
no building, there's no construction. Yeah, you do have to gather things,
Yeah,
crafting materials, but
not
it's
to
more
that level.
no, because it's more like you're creating a potion or
Right.
something. But for me, the lore or the appeal of Elden Ring is the loneliness of the game. The game intends you to feel like you're
Yeah,
alone,
that's a really good point.
and it's just built that way, and you're drawn in. And not that I would ever do this because I've been so against VR. But if there were one game that I would adventure into VR with, it would be Elden Ring, because when I'm playing it just on my little screen, you do feel like you're sucked in, and it's the
Mhm.
combination of the loneliness, the vastness of the landscape and the world. I mean, it's a huge open world,
Mhm.
and then the music. The music in Elden Ring is just otherworldly, and it just sucks you in. So here I'm doing my ad here for Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring so much, and so I just don't want them to screw it up, And
Mhm.
when Robert was doing his streams on Fridays, there were like 5 or 6 Fridays in a row where I was working from home on a Friday, and he asked me, he's like, "Can you come in? I've never played before. Can you guide me? I don't want to be stumbling around. I want to move quickly." I'm like, "Yeah." So for several Fridays, I was like the Elden Ring sensei. I was telling him where to go. And what's weird is
Mrs. Miyagi.
as big as this world is, I remembered tiny, stupid little things like go in
Mhm.
this cave and up on that shelf, 2 steps this way.
Oh
And
my
it was
god!
just
Yeah,
it was so weird. I mean, I'm
I
gonna go
had
back and
somebody in
watch
my
those
chat. I
streams.
had somebody in my chat did
Oh yeah,
exactly the same as
I remember
Skyrim.
that day. Yeah,
And I
I
was
saw
like,
him that day.
how the hell did
Yeah,
you
he's like,
remember
up,
that? This
Skyrim,
game,
if you
yeah.
go over that
It's
hill,
like-
you take the right path, it'll lead you here. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I was
damn,
like,
dude, you know this
okay, and he
game
was
good.
literally, I was like, okay, I don't remember which way to go, and he just go this way, and I was like, how do you
There
remember
are
it? I
it
remember. I was
is
like,
those worlds,
wow.
they just suck you in. And I
Mhm.
I like I said, I have to go back and listen to those streams with Robert because and I kept saying to him, I said, "I don't know how I knew this." Like it was the dumbest, most and
In
there are things you need to find, and I was helping him get there really fast. Because he wanted to move through quickly,
Mm.
and then I was sad I had to start working on Fridays at the office, so I couldn't help him anymore. Um, I like watching other people play because I like seeing it, the world is so open. There are guides to tell you where to go next, but you don't have to follow them. So I like to see if other people take the same path I do and, and what they found because I know when I was watching Az play, he essentially followed sort of the main path, but he found places that I would have never found. So it's just big and huge and awesome. So um we'll have
yeah.
to see. That'll be a pretty epic when it is really ready to come out. That'll be an epic stream. So I'll be there to coach you on, either of
There
you
you
or
go.
both of you.
I have to go. I have to do it. I have to do it. I must say, but I am a wanderer. That is the worst thing. I remember playing with Wolfie's Scum, and I just wander. And they're like, "Where are you in the game?" I'm like, "Oh, I just went for a look down here." I just wander up. I'm like, "Oh, I'm just, I'm fighting off," and I'm like, they're just like, "What are you doing?" So I do wander in games. I'm like, "Ooh, what's over there?"
But that makes it fun. If the
Yeah.
game is appealing, right? If a game has
Yeah.
those little side areas, it's great. I really miss I do okay, as much as I say Elden Ring should never be co-op multiplayer, I miss like playing the front with you and some of
Mm.
those games where we
Conan.
played together. I know
Yeah.
they're back on Conan again.
Yeah.
but I do miss that time, like,
I
you
might
know,
do. I
working
was thinking
together.
about do I start the front again? Do it again. I'm thinking it was teasing me. It was teasing me because they've had another update, and I was like, oh, I might have to do
I
it. But that
know.
build
They
we
have
did
all
was
kinds of
epic.
that build that you and
Did
Viper
you, Jay? Did
did.
you ever see that?
I was gonna say the front. I don't remember seeing you guys play that one.
When I was ages
You
ago,
and
but we
Viper did that. I
oh
didn't build it, man. I
me and
just went
Viper
and
did this
sourced.
and I just literally stayed in game sometimes and just did this epic build. And I mean, the epic build was like I can't explain how large this was. We had you had to get power on. We
Levels
worked
and
towards that.
levels.
Yeah, and we had 5 levels. We had a hotel in it with rooms, open things,
Kitchen.
but then it was Sandy. You started off by having this Roman look, didn't you?
Yeah,
You
the
kind of had this thing,
stone with
and
the
then we were like, "That's what
arches.
we're going to." Yeah,
And
then
then
it
we had
just turned.
our little kitchen with the view over the water with our little dining room table with turkey. Remember for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving,
Oh
they
yeah.
they put turkey in the game for Thanksgiving, and you could wear a turkey hat if you wanted to. But we never did finish it. We got to
No,
59. We didn't get to level 60, did we?
no, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's
we
a
should do
shame.
that. I should find a way to
Yeah,
have I don't know how to do a server. I should find
yeah.
a way to do a server so we can do
Well, it's
that.
an open. This is not an open server. You have to do a posted server. That's the only problem. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
I don't know how to do that. I have to
Yeah,
I would
I'll have
anyway,
to,
but
I'll have to
there's
look
that,
into it.
there's
Yeah.
planetaries.
Mm.
I've been playing Satisfactory. I put about 50 hours in Satisfactory, and I just got to a level
Is
that
that the
now
mining buildings one, isn't it? I think is that
it's
that one?
building factory. Like you're
That's it. Yeah.
building, you're just producing stuff. And you
Mm.
need I'm at the point now where I need trains to move my stuff, and it's just gonna be too much. But yeah, there's some I've gone back to those good old oldie but goodies to go
That's
back
it. But
to. But it's fun to play, to find
yeah.
time to play together, like we're little kids, to have a play date. It is very nice to do that.
But it gets me away from having some freaky child-look dolls attacking me. That's what I kind of. That's why I've got
nice
on
change
that.
of pace.
Never
It
get me
does.
in those games.
Oh my god,
Never.
that made one that was bad. That was a good one. That last one I played, that was a bit jumpy.
Well, even those
That was
ones that Az and Dan play that that they did. What's the Ghost Hunter one? The
God, what's it called?
it's not Poltergeist.
The Phasmophobia one?
Yeah. Heck no.
Okay.
There's no chance.
They're good.
No.
I forgot.
know
I
you
didn't realize I was that jumpy. No, it's like that. I just
You
didn't
like scaring yourself. No, thank you.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes, isn't it? I do find it funny because when I do swear, I always apologize afterwards. And I'm really sorry, I'm really sorry, like that. Honestly, it's that bad. I'm like, what? Like one of them when Abe was in chat and he was like, "Oh, you're just walking around," and I was literally reading him
He
in the
distracted
chat.
you.
He distracted me and then walked down some set of stairs and it had the biggest jump scare. I literally had to take a moment. I was that terrified. I was like, oh no, that literally got me. It was so bad, but I blame Abe because he literally made me talk to him on the thing because nothing was happening and it was good on the game. That shows you a good part of the game because it made everything oh, you're okay. But I wasn't.
The best ones, we know you're scared when you leap out of your chair, like when we see you jump up out of your chair. It was that filing cabinet that day that you went to look at a filing cabinet.
Oh my god, that was great. That
you
one
jumped out of your chair. It was great.
Yeah, but that what was that? That is one of the best games. That was that Beyond Handwell, and that is probably absolutely one of the best games I've ever played. And it's scary to shoot him up and everything. But that moment, it wasn't even a jump scare. They purposely did that, so it was just a loud noise that didn't have to be there. And so I had this clap the the production company or whatever, who did it, went, let's have one there because we know they're gonna go in there and that's the only thing they can open. Let's do it. And I was like, oh, what the hell? I went for it. That is probably the of that time in that game, that is probably the funniest one. But I found it funny. but I found it horrible at the same time. But
It
yeah.
was funny for us to watch.
Yeah,
Let's
that's why I put it as a
just say.
short. I was like, oh, I
Oh
have to put
yeah.
that as a short. That was it. So, but it's
Yeah,
good.
you'll have to
But
get at least one or two more Spider-Man in before Nerd Takes
yes,
Junior comes along.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. As soon as I feel like at least the nursery is all set, we're just kind of waiting on some furniture to come in and to get rid of a couple extra large pieces of spare bedroom furniture that's in there. So I'm thinking after this upcoming week, when both those things should be done, I'll feel a little bit more at ease about making sure everything's ready for the baby. So at that point, that gives me like a good month of having a little bit of fun with some streams and YouTube stuff before I really have no idea what my YouTube schedule is going to be like.
Yeah, that's cool. Though. It's all going to be fun, madness, no sleep, absolutely stressful, and you'll love it.
The only thing that I'm not worried about too much, honestly, is the sleep, just because I'm such a night owl and forced early bird because of work that I've gotten pretty good at running on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, at least for now. So I know it's going to feel a little bit different with a kid, but we're going to see. Hopefully it's not.
And I see, I was lucky, and I always say this, and I really do apologize to my girlfriend, is I had my surgery. So I was high on morphine.
Yeah.
Oh,
So them first couple of weeks, I was out of it. So I didn't get a thing. Like they slept in another room to make sure, because I had my machine on, and then just full of morphine. So I didn't really. I got away with it, and I got away with it. Yeah.
Well, I hope
the feeding every 3 years. Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I hope you didn't take it through the eyelid like the character in our movie today.
No.
Just like that, we've
No,
come
that's
full
enough.
circle again.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah. So yeah, that's she said that was stressful. That was the
I can only imagine.
3 hours every 3 hours. What? They gotta be fed every 3 hours. Yeah, so there we go. What up?
Yeah, Abe's no stranger to no sleep.
It's always on Conan. Every time I see him, I like Conan. What are you doing?
One time, I think I was doing a Batman stream. It must have been like close to midnight my time. And good old buddy Abe was joining us. And I went for a long one that time. I think I went past
midnight your turn?
Yeah, midnight my time. And Abe was, our good friend Abe was joining us. And then at one point, Abe went quiet for like an hour. And then an hour later, Abe's like, I just got my little power nap. I'm back. What's going on, everybody? I'm like, you are a trooper. God bless him.
Yeah, you definitely, if I did come into any of your streams at midnight, you'd be like,
oh yeah, midnight. So that's like what? 5 a.m. your time, right? Midnight at mine. Is it 5, 6 your time?
Yeah. I bet Abe just wet the bed. I'm going for that. sorry, Abe. Sorry. He's just about to fire up code. Oh my God. See, look. There you go.
There you go.
Did you jump back in, James, or no?
Not yet. I need to. I'm going to the things, but
I need to too.
I haven't yet. It's like that, but I'm just liking everything else at the moment. It's the worst thing is you get. I hate to say it, and it's going to be like that because it is a good game, and I think everybody agrees it. It's getting to that level until you can do stuff. It's going to really annoy me again. Yeah, because I've done it so many times, and then you like have to level up to get to there. It'd just be good to like transfer that character. And that's my level, and then we go again. Yeah. So especially some of the characters you just get used to. I know you have the same look, so like that.
I liked I know there was one like adjustment to my costume or whatever from like the very first time we played, like where I had the green cape. Okay, I know. I had the green cape on my normal look, and I liked my green cape. And I can't get that in any. The other 2 times we played it, I couldn't get my green cape. I like my green cape. But I play the same look all the time. It's just my basics. I don't go crazy like some of the female characters. And I say female characters because it's not female players necessarily. It's usually a male
Abe's
player.
character.
It's usually
Abe's
Abe
character.
or Dan.
Abe's if Abe's character is as bad as it was last time, that was wow. That was
Robert
a
had a jiggly lady. Dan has had a lady. Abe has had a lady.
I have a lady, but I don't make it so jiggly. Let's say that. That's the politest term.
Your lady's very ethnic.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
You go with the ethnic lady.
I don't know why. Because only reason I did is because the reason is I changed it is because I had a troll in one of my Conan streams once who was literally being really rude. So I thought it'd be funny to piss him off because he was being such an absolute twat. Let's be honest. So I just changed my character there and then to piss them off even more. So
Oh
I
my
did
God.
it because they were just being so like anti everything. So I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna literally do what you say and change my character to your worst ever description.
Love
And then,
that.
yeah, and then they never came back after that because they just realized I was completely taking the mickey out of him without actually taking the mickey out of him directly. So yeah, I thought that was funny. I was like, so what's that? There you go. If you jump back in, I can give you gold breaker armor on day one. Oh,
I gotta earn it, Abe. You know me.
Yeah, you
I
gotta,
like
yeah.
to earn it. Takes me
That's it.
forever.
That's
But
it. But yeah, so we're gonna everybody gonna see us somewhere. Gonna be walking around Washington. You should actually do, Jay. You know, we should do the creation, unless you got everything of the baby room, the nursery.
That would have actually been really like a
Time
yeah,
lapse.
that would have actually been a
But
pretty
do it in a Spider-Man costume. So they've got the two
yeah, two birds, one stone.
Are there superheroes on the walls, Jay?
Not yet. So I've made the deal with my wife because my wife's style, I always say, is very West Elm. Like her style is straight out of a West Elm catalog. So that's what she wants to know. It's just a store over here that's like you know, like just kind of classy, but very like I don't want to say plain because plain sounds rough.
Yes,
it's got a nice, it's classy, sleek plain. Like it does have, it's a little. I keep saying
you have
plain.
to be really.
I wish I had a better word.
Be kind of nicer than what you say. Right. It is your wife's pick.
It's right, exactly. Like that word. It sounds like a bad description, but it's not. It's just simple. Maybe simple is the better way to put it. Simple, classy, sleek, which is nice and it's great. But I've already told her, I'm like, all right, we can do this as he's a baby and he's a newborn and he doesn't have an opinion. But the second he wants Batman on the wall and a race car bed and all that, I'm like, we're doing all of it. It's going to be a fun room.
Oh yeah, so Abe says dinosaurs and dragons.
Exactly. We can have a catalog picture perfect room for now because he doesn't have any likes or interests. But once the Batmobile bed and Superman on the walls, he's getting all of it.
See, this is the thing is like, well, Sandy, you've seen the decoration.
I did. It's amazing.
But then I came across my girlfriend and I did say, but when he starts reading the comics, he's going to be. She was like, no, he's not having it because she's very stylish.
Yeah, my wife's the exact same way.
And
it's
got to
be right to her style.
And I went, you know, he's going to have comics and he's going to get geeky stuff. And she was like, why do you say that? And I just went,
right.
I was like, what? She was like, he might not. And I was like, he does. He can already pick out the Hulk, Spider-Man already. So I was like waiting for that. I'm guessing kids at Me's like nursery and all that, play school, wherever, picks them out. But he was like, oh my God, because I got the Hulk, and Spider-Man mashup there. It's which one is it? It's that one. Is it? Yes. That one I'm pointing to there is the one, their first ever appearance together. And literally he was like, Hulk, Spider-Man. I was like, well done, kid.
That interest was already there.
Yeah, I was like, yes.
And that's the thing. It's easy for them, being, you know, Jade and my wife. It's easy for them to say no to us. It's a different story if they have to say no when the kid's like, Mom, can I have, you know, Spider-Man on the walls? Like, try saying no then. So we'll see how it goes.
I bet Jade could design an amazing spider web for a wall. Yeah.
She hates spiders, though, so maybe not. So she hates spiders. So, but I don't know. I'm see, that's the thing is, where do you go? Marvel, DC are the ones, but I've got my 2000 AD, so you never know. So yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, for me, my general plan is introduce him to all of it and see which direction he decides to go from there. Me personally, I put DC over Marvel, but if his choice is the Marvel characters over DC, so be it. I like them all anyways. I don't really do the whole you have to like one or the other. So I introduce him to the whole, you know, plethora of all of it.
I could just throw in that as well. You never know.
Yeah, there you go. Honest to God, you never know. So yeah, it probably won't be Akira right out of the gate. That was a little too.
I'm not doing like intense. What's going on?
But yeah, you know, maybe some anime, some Dragon Ball. You never know.
Oh yeah, you got all that. And the thing is,
the anime I watched as a kid.
I've got like the Harry Potter thing to all go again. You got Harry
Potter. Yep.
So I'm just gonna open the world to him of all my comic book or just general nerdy stuff and see which direction he wants to run in.
You
Yeah,
got
that's it.
Potter, you got Jurassic Park, you
Mhm.
got all kinds of good
Oh,
stuff.
there's a
Oh
lot.
my gosh, there's a lot to dig back into, don't have to worry about all the garbage out today. My
Yeah.
older daughter um did actually start reading Harry Potter in high school.
Mhm.
Many years after it was out, of course. Um And then my younger daughter, from the get-go, she was always into old Star Wars, like OG Star Wars, which was fantastic. So, and I told you my Millennium Falcon story with her and
Mm.
I'll tell again. She got the Lego set for the X-Wing fighter. She was, I think, only 7, but it said 12, but I'm like, "Oh, you can do this." And she did. She did it in a couple hours. Like, she put the whole X-Wing fighter together and sitting on the dining room table, and the older one comes in and says, "What's that?" And Hannah says, "That's the X-Wing fighter, but I want the Millennium Falcon next." And the older one says, "What's the Millennial Falcon?" Because she doesn't know. The younger one says, without missing a beat, "You don't know the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs." You've never had a prouder mom. Never a prouder moment in my life as a mom. Now, the older one
That's
still
cool.
had no clue what she was talking about. But the
That was
fact
it.
that my 7-year-old just didn't miss a beat and said, "You don't know the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that makes the Kessel Run." I was like, "Oh, so proud."
Did you
So
just go,
proud.
"You're my favorite now. You're the favorite"?
Oh, they're both my favorite. They're both my favorite. One of them donated blood yesterday. I'm very, very proud of both my kids.
Oh,
They
yeah.
all of a sudden they've become good kids. At some
That's on
point
that comment. I like that.
it takes a while, but all of a sudden one day they grow, you turn around and you realize you've got good kids and they do good things. So yes. But
Okay.
don't tell them I said that. Don't let them hear me say that.
But cool, excellent. Well, guys, it's getting late except for Abe. Abe's just woken up, and he's
Yeah,
he's
there is no late for Abe.
There's no wish.
Time's a flat
Sleep
circle.
until he's dead. But yeah, guys, it's been
They
great.
will.
And our time. Remember, Abe, your clocks change when you game in, so watch out for that today.
You guys do for that?
Yeah, so next week we'll be back to your normal time.
Yeah, 3 p.m.
Yeah,
for us.
so for the platoon. So watch out, guys. So 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So back to it now, changed to the British summertime for us. But yeah, watch out. We got Oliver Stone's Platoon is your next little bit of homework, and I can foresee me and Sandy having a lot of homework, so like that, and hopefully Jay does it as well.
Good stuff.
I would like to honestly get a little bit of some of those guys. I believe Sandy or one of you guys had sent the documentary in the Discord, right?
Yes.
I would
like to try to watch a little bit of it.
Yeah.
That's quite long. It was 90 minutes, that one. I was like that.
I could do 90 minutes.
Things. Yeah, that's it. But I don't. How many episodes are in the PBS? Must be 12 or something.
It's 18 hours. They're 90 minutes. So whatever that comes out to, 12. I think 12.
So I'm going to be binge watching the rest of it. Definitely. So that'll be my week, and that's it. So then until I get to the movie. But I noticed on Amazon Prime, I might have to watch it. Like they were like, "Oh, it's free for the next four days," and I was like, "Oh my god!" And they're doing the extended one. I was like, "Oh my god!" So I was like, "I want to watch it for the next one. I have to go and get the DVD out somewhere." And I was like, "Okay, get the DVD out." But that
was free. I watch if it's not on HBO, which I already pay for, on Amazon Prime. I have so many of those digital credits, like just purchases that I haven't really had to pay for a movie. And this one, it was like, oh, it's free. I don't think I'd watched a free Amazon movie, and I did not realize that they stopped for ads, and they're
Oh yeah, that drove me nuts on this one.
It was 7 ads each time, and it was like, oh my god, I can get up and make a cup of tea and come back, and they're still on the ads. So I guess I was getting a little spoiled.
I didn't realize they did that with the Amazon free to watch ones. I don't know if that's a new thing, if they've created different tiers or something.
Last year they started it.
Oh, is that what? Okay, because for the most recent ones, I've had to purchase them for like the $2 rental or $3 rental. Yeah. But this was one of the first ones already on there for free that I'd seen in a while, and I didn't remember these ads being a thing.
Yeah, they did it on. They started it on Paramount Plus, but really
it drives
annoying.
Me nuts.
But they did it like Star Trek. There you go, Deep Space Nine. They have like previously on. So you skip it, Then they have the intro,
And
you
then you
skip
get
it, and then
hit
it goes
with
into it like
Mhm.
then it does a 240-second ad, and it has a
You
little
can't skip
stick,
it.
and you can't
Yep.
skip it. So you're
Yep.
like, oh my god, and then you're like, oh, like there's some shows you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna fast forward this bit. It's a bit boring, and then it would go straight into the ad because it knew
Yep.
you fast forward it. I'm like, oh my. So yeah, I hate it like that. Like have one or two ads, but like you
Yeah,
just
one
have
at the
like
beginning,
5.
one right before
Yeah.
the end, call it a day.
I
Disney
don't get
Plus
like
is awful with that right
yeah.
now. I've run into it watching Daredevil where
Mm.
the commercial breaks are so frequent if you had the ad-based tier,
Yeah.
and it's just the same commercials
I-
every time. And they're all, well, it's probably not for you guys in Europe, but here in
Mm.
America, they're all pharmaceutical commercials. So
Oh,
everyone is
People.
pushing
Yep.
some new medical drug, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of realized the other day, I'm like, wow, they must be this much in the hole on money in terms of this streaming service that not only are they absolutely loading the show with more commercial breaks than I think your cable TV regular show would have, every single one of them is a pharmaceutical one. I'm like, Jesus, this app must be doing terrible.
But the worst thing is like, because okay, you have the TVs like series that were purposely have a little break, like
yeah,
they
and
know,
you can even tell in the storytelling where they wanted that commercial break.
But
This
in
is
these
like,
ones, they just random. You're just in the middle of a sentence and it's ad. You're like, what's going on? Sometimes,
yep.
it's
Especially
bad.
with like the Daredevil original run of the series, because that's coming over from Netflix. So that obviously wasn't made to have commercial breaks because that's not how Netflix functions. So the way they jam them in there is like, holy crap, dude, this is brutal.
Yeah, it's not good. But I don't get why they just don't. This show is sponsored by, and then just leave a sponsorship, and at the end tell you
because they're just not making enough money.
Yeah,
they need every ad they can get.
Yeah, to milk like they put so much in, and you're like, oh, this is. But people are just going to get like, I think people will get more pissed off and not pay for the subscription. I can't wait a lot of people are going to go up.
I can't wait for this show to be done so that I can not for the show to be done, like in terms of the show itself. More so just so that I can cancel it and just stop watching Disney Plus with all the stupid ass ads they have.
Yeah, there's so many ones like I'm like, just cancel your subscription and don't watch anything on it, and just it's like, oh, it's boring. I think the worst thing I ever did was reduce my digital, like my actual physical thing. I always regret that. If I had to go back, and I would keep all my DVDs, but it's like that. One thing I did is get rid of all the ones I did. I kept all the foreign ones because subtitles and all that are different. But all the like the English version, like the English speaking ones, I wish I kept them all. Some of of course I did, but yeah, a lot of it I got rid of, and I was like, damn it, I wish I kept all that.
See, I kept a bunch because there was a point in time where I was into collecting Blu-rays. Like me and a few of my good friends, we were just like, I don't know where it came from. We just go to the store one day, nothing to do, dive through the Blu-ray bin where it's like $5-10 Blu-rays, and we just started collecting them. So I got a good collection that I still have. My regret is that I stopped doing it. So like if you're going through the movies, you can tell when I stopped because it was around like 2013 or 14. Like there's a few new movies that I had just got at that point when they had just hit Blu-ray or got a deal on them. And then it just like stops completely. So there's like nothing past 2014. There's a whole bunch of stuff prior 2014 and prior. But I just, for whatever reason, stopped doing it. And now I've just kind of got like a dated movie collection that I'd like to add to. But
I'm actually going to go back and actually do dated because you can't get black and white movies on any streaming site. You cannot get a black and white movie. It's hard. Yeah, it's really bad. Like no classics. So we do that. But yeah, on that note, on that, it's getting late here. That's what we're saying. So you guys are probably going to off to make your dinner. And
yep,
I'm off to go to bed. But yeah, everybody, again, thank you very much for coming. Much appreciated as every week. And yeah, next one, do Platoon. It's a great movie, and we'll see you for after your homework next week. Until then, bye.